Let's roll.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sharp Talk podcast. I'm Tom, aka Tom Hosting Outdoors on YouTube and Instagram. Today I'm joined by my co-host Alex, who runs Alex's Knife Box on YouTube, and you can find him on Instagram at Alex_knifebox. I also have with me today Gerald, who is Outpost 76 on YouTube and Instagram as well. Steve is not here at the very beginning of the podcast like usual. And our very special guest today is Bob from the Knife Junkie podcast. You guys may already know him. If you guys want to check out a better quality podcast than our own, you should definitely head over to all the normal, podcast places, and you'll be able to find him. You can also find him on Instagram at the Knife Junkie, and he's also on YouTube as the Knife Junkie. So, welcome to the podcast, Bob.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
So as always, we're going to go ahead and start off with what's in your guys' pockets today, and I think we should lead off with Bob.
Absolutely.
So, today I had the Bastinelli knives Dragotac, the puny one, the little 3.6-inch one. This knife I actually just practiced using my new KME sharpener on, and so this was the first knife that wasn't totally cheap that I went to work on, and it's really sweet. Though I didn't do the greatest job. I'm still learning about the KME. And then I had the Tops Rapid Strike on me today because I had to go grocery shopping, and that's it. I only had two today.
Nice.
All right, Alex, what do you got?
I had a Pilar on me earlier in the S35VN, but later on I decided I was going to bring out the Norseman. So
Very nice.
I am carrying my
Beautiful.
blue Norseman today with drop study action.
And gorgeous knurling on that handle, my God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do such a nice job.
You just got that recently, right, Alex?
Yeah, that's one of my new acquisitions.
Very
After
nice.
all these years of fighting, buying one of these because it kind of looks like a horse cock, I decided I had a couple friends that they beat theirs every day at work, and they just swear by this thing about how great it is to use. And so I gave it a whirl, and I am sold. I love this thing.
I could definitely see it being very useful. It's just the blade shape puts me off for maintenance. I think it's going to be a pain in the ass to resharpen.
Yeah, I'm not going to be doing the resharp. Somebody else is going to have to do the dirty work for me.
Hey,
But,
what's the number on that?
this is a very recent one. It's number 2741.
27 per. Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing to think that in that little shop, they have put 2,700 of those together one by one.
Seriously.
And counting.
And counting. It's a gorgeous knife.
Thank you.
What do you got, G?
Well, I went back to the Maximate Para 3. And,
That thing, huh?
well, now I'll explain in a minute. And I've been carrying the Crewwear Delica. I'm trying to like the Delica,
Uh-oh.
but the Maximate, I always took care of my Maximate Mannix. I've had that thing like 2 years now. I always wiped it down, always took care of it. This Para 3 I've had like 2.5 months. I don't wipe it down. We went to the beach yesterday. I didn't actually, walking around, eating lunch, stuff like that. I don't wipe it down. I understand some people do have problems, but like I said, I'm less than 2 miles from the beach, and this thing isn't rusting, spotting, nothing yet in 2 months.
Yep.
So, since we had the storm and that, I was going to do 30 days with Maximate, kind of like I did with the S110V for my channel. And since it got all messed up with me being in the hospital and the hurricane, then I decided to take it out again. But like I said, still, I can't get it to spot. It's not rusting, and I'm not taking it. It's making me wonder, did I waste my time with the Mannix, always wiping it down because I'm not having any problems.
See, I noticed that with mine too, my native. I carried that exclusively for like 3 straight months for that whole video series. And I have a little bit of really light patina on it, but it takes perfect lighting to be able to see it. I got no pitting or anything. It's I don't know. I don't know why people really complain about tool steels rusting as bad as they do. I've never had an issue. Although I don't live close to an ocean, but with you saying, you know, you live 2 miles away, that's. I mean.
Oh yeah, I have M4. I've had longer than Maximate. Sat in M4, and same thing. I have some I've never put anything on, never wiped down. It looks like the day I bought it.
You know what's funny is the only steel I've actually got to rust is S35VN, which is supposed to be super stainless. Whatever.
So I've never before we find out what's in your pocket, can I ask about Maximet, which I have never used before? Is it really all that? Because I've seen the Cedric and Ada. It looks pretty awesome, but I've never used it.
I think so. I did a whole video series on it. I think it's probably my absolute favorite, although that's going to change with my most recent video I have yet to upload. I think Crewwear is going to take that spot. But Maximate, as far as just pure edge holding, is phenomenal. Now, the only thing is that I paid attention with it a little bit more. I didn't like baby it during my use of it for like 3 straight months. But it's something that you got to kind of be aware of what you're cutting with it and what you, like, let's say you're cutting a piece of cardboard, you got to be aware after you pop through that piece of cardboard what you possibly could hit. I tried to pry a battery out of, like, a pair of calipers with it just to try and test it, and I popped the tip off it, just the ever so slight tip. One sharpening fixed it. Okay. But it's a steel that doesn't take lateral stress well. But if you're looking for pure edge retention, that's king right now as far as production goes. It's very unique in its properties. It's one of those steels that, like, you'll be using it and you start to feel it kind of like lose its initial sharpness, like right after you sharpened it, and it starts to feel like it's going dull, and then you cut some more stuff with it and you go to check again and it's sharper than it initially was.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's the self-sharpening steel.
It basically
That's why it's so expensive.
Yeah. It just exposes fresh carbide and it's sharp again. It's magic. It's awesome. So I'd say if you haven't tried it yet, it's something that you need to experience or maybe not, because it ruins all other steels for you.
Yeah, I could see that being the case. However, you know, I'm a pretty light user, so it could be the steel that I buy and never, ever, ever sharpen. Just only do it nervously because it's fun.
It's something that takes just a strictly diamond progression, though. You can't really use, aluminum oxide stones or stuff like that with it. It doesn't respond well to that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And it's definitely not as bad to show. I find it to be super easy to sharpen.
Me too.
I've seen people say you need to start with a higher grit on it. For the hell of it, I went at it with 140 grit diamond stone with some pretty good pressure, and I couldn't get the apex to break away from it or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot more stable than what everybody says. Everybody bases opinions off of factory edges. And that's really unfortunate because there's a whole lot of good steel underneath that factory edge that a lot of people don't get to experience because they come up with their assumptions on it too early.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's easy to sharpen for somebody who's sharpened like 1,000 knives, like both of you.
Gerald, do you find that it feels different? Like it sharpens fine, but it feels harder on the stones. To me, at least.
It doesn't have a glassy feel like harder tool steels have. It has it's got almost like a feel all of its own.
Yeah. It's unique. It's something that if you had me blindfolded and I was sharpening that or I was sharpening M390, you can definitely tell the difference between the two.
And not to be totally shallow, but I will be. I like the way the Maximet Spydercos look because I always put the gray handle on.
Yep.
And it always just looks a little bit different and special.
Yeah.
The gray handle and the beautiful stone wash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what are you carrying? I'm sorry I interrupted way back when.
No, you're fine. That's a topic we all love to get on. We love Maximet. People love to hate on it. We love that stuff. I got my Benchmade Anthem today. It's one of the knives that's been with me for the longest, and it was actually a gift from my girlfriend a couple years back. So
she's a keeper.
Definitely. I have another knife here that's a gift from her from our anniversary. That's going to be in our new acquisitions portion of the podcast.
Tom, your whole knife collection is due to your girlfriend, okay?
No.
You know, she picked out all the knives.
I was waiting for this to come up.
You know, if Steve's not here, somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to say it, I guess.
Yes. So, by the way, where is she? 'Cause she's supposed to be on the podcast today.
She is. She's actually on the couch. She told me that after the last episode that she's never going to be on the podcast.
Why?
Why not?
I know. She goes, no, now I'm just a joke to them.
No. You got it all backwards. You know she's the boss. He's the boss. Like, oh, look, babe. I saw this Chris Reeve fixed blade right here. Yeah, you know, you should really get that, Tom. You should really. Okay, I'm gonna get it.
Listen,
Okay.
if you get permission, you just go for it. If
Yes.
someone says it's okay, you go for it.
Yes, I agree. You got to strike while the iron's hot.
That's rarefied air when that happens.
You think I got permission to buy this?
No.
Then again, forgiveness is usually easier to get than permission, so.
Or you just hide it. Done that before, too.
Well, I can't hide it, Tom.
That's true.
Alex,
You're on the
knife
couch
box.
flicking it.
Alex's knife box has got like 120, 130 knives in there. Big ass thick blades. How am I gonna hide that?
That is true.
Right?
Listen, when you have that many knives, you buy a new one, you just shove it at the bottom. They'll never know the difference.
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
And you boys are exactly right.
I'm going to remain silent in case my wife is listening. I know she's not.
I've said before, I won't self-incriminate.
Oh man.
Incidentally,
I'm just glad I don't have to worry about any of that.
I was just looking at my my analytics on YouTube just to see, you know, like when is it that I'm gonna like, you know, make my goals and whatnot. And I noticed that 100% of my viewers are male.
Me too.
It's a big old sausage hang on the Knife Junkie podcast.
Over 43,000 total views, and every single one of them is male. I just noticed that the other day. I was like, wow, that's
Yeah.
Isn't it really surprising though?
No, but it's up to us to build bridges, man.
I'm with that.
You know what's funny? I can't remember what I had to do, but I actually had to log into mine on the laptop the other day. And it'd probably been like 8 or 9 months since I had actually logged into my YouTube on a computer where you can see all that stuff. And I had, like, I'm just short of 100,000 total views. Now, I have no idea what my viewers are or anything else. I just happened to click on the wrong thing, and that was the first thing I looked at.
That's pretty cool. 100K
That's
is
pretty nice,
badass.
man.
Yeah, look, you should. So the videos that have a lot of views, I don't remember which one's which, but one of them is like last year when the Kershaw Christmas pack came out. That video alone has a ridiculous amount. I mean, thousands. I can't remember which is which. One video's got like close to 6,000 views, and the other one's at 10,000. And there's stuff that I'd have never thought that many people would have ever clicked on.
Hey man, it's the people that aren't really the enthusiast market. Like the more common knives I find get the most views. So like I have 2 or 3 videos on a Griptilian. So a couple of them are from way back when I initially got into knives and made the channel. And I had one this year talking about if the Griptilian was still viable as an EDC option for the price in 2019. Well, that one alone's done 2,000 views. I never expected it to take off in the 2 months that it's been out. So, I mean, I don't know, it just seems like there's more views out there for the general public than there is for us enthusiasts.
Well, and at the same time, though, the BD1N Lightweight Para 3 and the 62 HRC M390 edge retention videos both are over 2,000 views.
Yeah.
So there are, there are people who are interested in that too, obviously.
Yeah.
Well,
Because I don't have that many subs.
that makes a lot of sense to me, because if you're going to be spending M390 money and probably not going to be doing M390 work with it, you want to know that your money is going somewhere. You want to know that you're not getting ripped off. Like I will admit, I I'm intoxicated from time to time by the alphanumeric combinations, M390, 20CV. I hear and see those, and I'm like, well, that's got to be totally legit. And I buy it, and I spend the money, and then I baby it, and I strop it, and I wipe it down, I put it back in the case, and I might carry it. I probably carry it, but I will probably cut with something else. It's ridiculous, actually. But it's nice to know that there's someone out there willing to test their M390 expensive steel and let us know that actually it is the real deal.
Or not.
Or not.
As we figured out. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, Tom had somebody send him a couple Shiros now. I have a Hatheon Light and M390 that I'm testing, and my own S90V F95. So
you're gonna see if you get what you pay for.
M390? How's that Shiro M390?
In my preliminary testing, I've carried it. I carried it for 2 days. Used it really hard for 2 days. Cut way more than I normally would on a day-to-day basis. I went out of my way to cut cardboard as much of it as I could.
Okay.
I haven't done an edge retention test for it yet, but I'm estimating it's somewhere around the 500-foot range from what I tested those 2 days. And from what I see from it, it's every bit of the 63 that they claim it is.
I figured it would be.
It's incredible stuff.
I'm just going to say, because I don't want to spoil it, it's going to beat my PM2.
Oh, yeah. And then you match up their geometry with their heat treat, and it's going to do big numbers.
I told you, fuckers.
Hey, I was never denying that their steel is nice. I just didn't know it was this nice.
Well, I've heard I have a couple buddies that are extreme Shirogorov junkies, and they have quite a few of them, and they swear by them. And I have a friend that's got a $10,000 F7 that uses it every day. He beats it. And what he does is after a year of using it and beating it, he'll take that knife and he'll give it back to Shiro, and then they'll spa treatment it for him and make it look brand new again. So he doesn't care. He just beats it up. He sold like 3 custom divisions to get that one. And it's mind-boggling to me that he spent 10 grand on a folding pocket knife.
What are its features that justifies that?
It's so Shirogorov is just like buying a Gucci something, or like one of those crazy handbags that the women buy for like $2 grand.
Yeah.
So you got that name, and then when they come out with like the F5 or the F7 model, which you could check those out online, they're very exclusive. They only come out with, I don't know, maybe like a couple hundred pieces. And then some of them, they like his version. I think it's the only one exactly like it. So it's one of those like 1 out of 5 or 6 pieces with slight variances. So it becomes a collector's market. It's like a rare factor thing. And
so for a I don't have any Shiros, but I kind of lust after them. And what do you think is the good entry level? I'd have to sell a bunch of knives. But what is the good entry level Shiro?
So when I first bought my Shirogorov, I didn't go too heavy like a custom division, but I bought an F95T, and I got the frag pattern scaled one because I thought some of the other ones were a little bit plain looking for my taste. So Monkey's Edge has the frag pattern one. It's about $1,100 at their site, but I was able to manage finding it for like $860 from another seller, brand new. So I picked that up, and now that I've been around them a lot and friends that carry them, I've gotten to play with the single row bearing and the multi-row bearing and all these cool features. A single row bearing F95 at like $685 is almost just as killer of a knife. I mean, I could hardly tell the difference.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
That's good news.
Even the LMAX, like Tom tested, Kenny at In the Pocket has one, and he absolutely loves that LMAX too because they do a good job on it also.
Yeah. So I mean, you really don't need to go out and buy like, you know, the multi-row bearing and this and that, and that's more like if you do like the collector thing, I guess, and that's your thing. But not to discount that those 3 bears versions that have like the little more hopped up model aren't cool. But when I flipped a single row bearing compared to my multi-row bearing, I mean, can I tell a difference after flipping like, you know, and owning hundreds of knives? I could tell the difference, but it was so minute. It was really not. It wasn't anything that I would be like, oh my god, I'm so glad I spent the extra like $300. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Boy, that was so worth it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm glad I got the one I have, but you know, it's not something I recommend to others. It's just me personally. I just buy like the certain ones. I'm gonna say I probably bought that one more for the aesthetics than the functionality.
So how much do you think aesthetics are like? How much value do you put in aesthetics?
I'm the wrong person to ask.
You have some pretty damn fancy knives, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I spend way more on aesthetics and collectability than I should. How about that? Like I think it's all on the individual person. Like Tom, for example, the way Tom or like Gerald collects knives, like they put more like emphasis into the value and performance of a knife. Me, like, if it's an extra $400 just for a small little piece of Timascus on it, I'm probably going to be that idiot that hits buy now. It's my personality, you know, like that's the way I am.
Well,
yeah,
buy the best you can afford, man. That's a good rule, because then someday you're going to want to sell that, and you have the cream to sell.
Hey.
exactly.
And
I mean,
also, it's just money. You'll always make more, right?
That's right.
yeah, I get my ass kicked at work every day for that money. Trust me. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're looking into a Shirogorov, I mean, shit, what the Hation, as I did a whole video on the Zero and the Hation, which, by the way, are my 2 hottest videos on YouTube. They kill everything else that I've put. And the Hation, when I first got that one, I felt that was like the perfect EDC tool to have in your pocket.
I'm a huge fan of the one I have on loan.
It's small, it's light, it's smooth. I mean, it has M390. It's got the multi-row bearing system. It's got a carbon fiber scale on it, which gives a lot of lightness to it. And I even had the one with the red carbon fiber, the fancy.
That's the one I have on loan.
Same one I have on loan too.
Hey, you guys have what? Your friends? Who are these people loaning you these? I want to know.
So I had a viewer lend me an F95 and then a Custom Knife Factory Morph 5, and this guy just sent me 6 knives, 2 customs in S90V, a 2 Sun in S90V, a 2 Sun in M390, a Mass Drop Keen, and then the Shiro Hation Light.
Jeez.
So I was like, dude, you don't gotta send me all of these, but now I have to test them all. And I'm like, well, there goes like 3/4 of my cardboard supply, considering it's all S90V and M390.
The one that blew my socks off is somebody sent you a Spectre.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Spectre.
Somebody freaking send you a Spectre.
Yeah.
Wait. What's a Spectre?
The Holt
Oh.
Spectre.
Yeah.
If you haven't looked into the Holt Spectre, it's one of those extremely high hype knives. That is done by a husband and wife team in Iowa, I think they are. And Angie and I forgot what his name, Joe Holt make these knives.
Okay. Oh yes. Okay. Right.
And they literally, like, on the set. So they used to be $500 for their plain version, and then you could spend $700 and get their prestige model. They have 3 levels, all the way up to $1,000 for like a dressy one. So they've just upped their price, and now like the base one is about $700. Now, if you go on the secondary market to look for a base one, they're so hot right now. I've seen them as high as $2,200.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they sell instantly.
Yep.
Instantly. It's ridiculous. Is the knife that good? I don't know. Tom would know better than me because I haven't handled
Dude,
one.
For the original asking price, they're worth every penny. But for what the secondary price is, not even close.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
they're
you can
phenomenal.
That's a desire issue. You know, people start seeing them. They start seeing people foam at the mouth for them in their videos. And if it's a video reviewer they trust, you know, they'll be like, God, I have to get that. And then the longer you watch someone, it's first person manipulating a knife, and you're like, gosh, I feel like I've already handled that and I love it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what drives. I remember when hinderers were like that, you know, hinderers were going for $800, $900. It's like, I'm never ever going to be able to own one. Thankfully that changed. I'm a big hinderer fan, and that changed at some point. But yeah, it's that desire. Yeah.
The one I had was
look
like
at the Striders too.
yeah,
What's-
Striders too.
Yeah, that was the same time, the same heyday, Striders and Hinderers.
Yeah.
The Spectre I had was like the perfect variation of the one that I would want. It was like neon green anno with purple anode clip and hardware. And then it was a mere stonewash blade, full flat ground. The behind the edge thickness was kind of I think it was still at 20 degrees per side. It was like 20 thousandths. I can't remember.
That's not bad.
It's not bad, but it's better. It's not as good as what I was expecting. But that M390 did very, very well. It's a very, very impressive knife. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's worth every penny of what they originally asked for.
Yeah.
Especially now that they're doing like really cool versions, like the Timascus inlay ones that are like integrated into the handle. Those are nasty looking.
Yeah, but those are going more like 1,300.
Oh yeah, those are pricey.
And that's at the maker's price, if you can even get one. When they had Blade Show, this last Blade Show that came up, their table, so they had like an hour early access pass where people could come in. All 50 of their knives were sold out before that first hour was over.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
What do you think of people selling out before the rest of the crowd gets a chance to come in? I've never been to Blade Show yet, unfortunately, but I would imagine like you walk in there and you're so excited and you want to run over to that table and boom, they're all gone and you're in the first flood of general public. Do you have a take on that?
I do. I think it's a stupid marketing strategy. I think that they should at least hold on to some. I think maybe the first access, like let's say if they made 50, I think 20 of them should go to the first hour. Like if you're the early bird, you know, there's going to be 20 of them fly right off. 30 of them have to stay. And then they're going to need to basically, now if I was that a booth, and I'm not a maker, but the way I look at it is they should at least have 2 or 3 that should stay the whole entire show and come home with them. Or maybe at the very last, you know, whatever, like, screw it, let's let these go. But the idea of Blade Show is for people to walk up to your table and experience the knife, get to talk to you, get to know you. I mean, you're building your brand. What's $500-600,
Right.
you know, for how many people are going to walk by your booth and it's completely empty? So I think that was kind of a silly strategy myself. It's kind of like thinking about the money where like you're not really thinking about the long-term money. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, it seems like if you parse them out, say you show up with 60 and it's a 3-day show and you parse it out, you know, 30 on the first day, 10 on the next day, where my math sucks. Okay, 20 on the first day, 20 on the second, 20 on the third day. At least that way, the broadest community is going to get to see that, hold it in their hands and know and fall in love with it potentially, and
Right.
be back, like you said, later.
Right. Maybe have a lottery system, you know, to make
Yeah.
it
I think that's the most fair.
But you know, I mean, at that point, why not just have the table out, you know, sell all your knives and boom, pack up, go home after that.
Right.
There. I mean, I guess you could sell some t-shirts, you know.
That's cold comfort, and you're not walking away with a knife, you're walking away with a t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, and I have a love-hate relationship with the whole Spectre because even me, like, which I have the budget to like buy one. You know, I've been hunting one. I've been going on every single lottery on the Facebook group and on Instagram for, I gotta say, at least a year. Never gotten picked once, you know. So I hate the knife because it's just unobtainable, and it's gotten to the point where I'm like, all right, am I gonna hold my cash to see if I can get a Spectre? I've gotten to the point where I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna go buy a Northman. I can get that. Nah, I'm gonna go buy something else because it's such a shot in the dark. The other one's the Shamwari. That's another knife that I've been chasing a long time.
It's a beautiful one.
It is, but you know, like it starts to lose its luster after you just try so many times to throw a dart and you never land, you know.
Right.
And so I'm kind of like, those are the two knives that I'm like, if something comes up, maybe, you know, or maybe if once they start losing how hot they are out there and, you know, they start becoming something more obtainable, and maybe I'll take a look at them again.
Or if they change their production and amplify it, make it bigger, but then maybe some of the mystique melts away with that.
It does. So yeah, that's a good point. But then again, you know, if those guys are out, and you know, if they ramp up their production, does that mean some of that quality is going to drop? You know, it's going to require different tooling and more manpower. And now, who's going to lay hands on these knives?
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting dynamic. So I try not to get, you know, like too heated about not being able to paint stuff. I think the part that heats me the most is when people buy the knife, you know, on these lotteries and stuff, and then boom, 2 minutes later they're flipping it. They're doing it for like the whole business gain aspect, and where like some of us like just really want it just to keep it, you know, and you're like, you sucker, man, like come on.
Yeah, and not to be judgmental here, but if you're really just looking to make money flipping stuff, knives is just such a stupid way to go, man.
Yeah.
Buy a car, flip that. Buy a house, flip that. A knife?
There you go. Although I ain't gonna lie, if you flip a Spectre, it's gonna make 100% profit in 2 days. Not even 2 hours, man.
Yeah. All right.
So I think we got really off topic there. We got in a really good discussion, though. Definitely good. We've forgot to get into latest acquisitions, and then we'll move on to our most recently sold. So what is everybody's latest acquisitions?
Wait. So you got to get your girlfriend on so we know what you got.
Hey, thanks. Every week.
Yeah.
Never gets old.
That just means they like you. They're busting your chops.
I guess.
I love Tom. Tom's like my little brother. But I can't help if his girlfriend she wears the pants. Well, Tom wears the pants, but she tells him which color and what pair to wear. So.
Oh God.
That's why he looks so damn good, right?
Exactly. Wearing the Benchmade hat. Oh, and Sharp Talk shirt. Got the merch.
Yes. That's cool.
Yeah, we got merch, guys. We got merch. Everybody go buy the merch.
I will have to get myself one.
Yes. So go for it. Bob, you're first.
Okay, so this it wasn't this week, it was last week. It's been a slow week. But I got the I got an email from knifecenter.com. It was urgent. I had to answer the call. And it was I've always wanted a Randall made knife, and I just haven't gotten one and done all the research and pulled the trigger and all that. So I got the Bark River Knives Made Blackjack number 1-7. I think it's based on the classic Randall fighting number 7.
Nice.
And it's in 3V steel, which I've never used, and I hear it's awesome. And it's got a beautiful convex edge. The one thing that I would change, if I could, is that almost all Randalls, have a sharpened top swedge. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's just appealing. I like fighting knives just because I like fighting knives. And to me, this would be 50% cooler if the
at least
At least 50%. But I realize, this is probably, for most people, an outdoors knife, and they think maybe someone's going to be batoning on the top, and they don't, so they made it pretty flat there.
Right.
Beautiful knife, though, with the ivory micarta handles.
That's gorgeous.
It looks beautiful, man. It almost reminds me of Westinghouse. It looks very similar.
I think it's kind of a tip of the hat to Westinghouse, because it's got that sort of like old yellowed color.
Yep, absolutely. And remember, Bob, not everybody knows how to manipulate a knife like you do. So I think that the sharpened swedge on top is a
right, exactly. Not everyone's thinking of how, because I view everything through a weapons lens, and it's not because I'm like some tough ass guy. It's just because that's who I am. And I grew up watching Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and stuff. So So the more edges that are sharp, the better. That does it for me.
Gerald?
Well, the only thing I've got, and it's operator for you.
Oh yes, the little SOG.
All black, Tonto, combination edge, mini grip.
Oh, it's a grip. I thought it was that little SOG or whatever. Like,
No, I did get that. I did trade for that. Somebody wanted Ontario Utilitech 2 I had.
yeah,
So I traded for that SOG.
yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do with that SOG. This is for, certain amount of time of carrying a knife I don't like for my channel is what I got this mini grip for.
Do you not you're not a mini grip fan then?
It's like a 3-finger knife for me. I just feel like it's. I love I have 2 full-size grips. I really like those, but the mini is just like so mini.
Yeah, it always feels like it's about to fall out of your hand, just the way that it tapers towards the pommel. Yeah.
I've always felt the same way about it. It fits my hands well, but there's like not a whole lot of meat left there at the very end of it. I have small hands, and so I can't imagine what you guys with bigger hands feel like.
You have baby hands.
Okay, just because you saw that one picture that makes it look like I
Dude,
had baby
that
hands.
picture showed everything. That
Picture really made it look like I had really small hands.
It looked unnatural, Tom.
It looked like my hand was the size of my forearm.
Yes. You have baby hands. It's okay, Tom.
That's fine.
Some people find that attractive. Don't worry about it.
I guess.
Well, then he had another picture where his right hand looked normal size, so I figure he just has one baby hand and one regular size hand.
Yeah, look, both hands, same size. Look,
That's just because you're.
I don't know, man. That left hand looks smaller than the right one to me.
That's what I'm saying.
Now it's an optical illusion. Now look, my left is way bigger than my right.
See, that's really how it is, Tom. See?
See?
Now you're pushing one forward. That's why.
Oh well. Oh well.
It's like when you see the guys on Forged in Fire who've been forging for 50 years, and the left arm is kind of atrophied, and the right arm is like this big.
You got anything new, Alex?
So I did good this month.
Oh.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did good. I got the A2, A6 knives, the zirconium and carbon fiber one.
Yeah.
I just did a video on. I got the Norseman. I technically got that custom JG custom Scout at the beginning of the month.
True.
And then I got one more. I can't remember what the other one was. Oh, and then I got a Microtech Ultratech, a Marfione version. That John Wick looking. Oh shit!
Yeah, and I like that one.
Oh, you see her.
Steve. Oh, Steve showed up.
Welcome to the podcast, Steve.
No one sent me nothing. Tom tried to lock me out because he didn't send anything. So
I sent 3, bro.
Tom tried to exclude me from this.
It's fine.
Say hi to Bob from the Knife Junkie.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Steve is frozen.
He's freezing again, man.
Dude, that's like a weekly. Every time we do the podcast, that happens to him like 3-4 times.
I know, and it looks funny because it always sticks him on this facial expression.
You gotta love it.
Yeah. And then somebody posted pictures of it on Instagram last time.
Oh yeah, man, this is great.
Are you sure he's not just incredibly disciplined and being very still and not blinking?
Yeah.
Being a Do you have anything else, Alex?
No, just that John Wick knife. That was it. That's enough, bro. That was a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
That's an awesome knife.
Yeah, you like that one?
Yeah. I'd definitely carry that.
Yeah, and it's the guy who owned it before me. Well, it's a shop. It was still brand new, but I guess they modified the button and put a little tritium insert in there, which was pretty cool.
What difference do you notice between a regular Microtech production Microtech and a Marfione custom?
I'm glad you brought that up, Bob. So, so basically, the difference from what I understand is that all the Marfione customs are hand ground blades. That's the main difference. Whereas the Microtechs are standard production style, but you can definitely feel a little difference as far as like the edge has a little more care to it. I've owned quite a few Ultratechs before, and I've sold all of them. And recently, I decided to acquire this new one I just got, which is a Marfione version. And the edge is so fine and so crisp and so even on both sides, but you can almost kind of tell it's been done by hand. And it just has the blade's got a really nice deep hollow grind on it, so there's definitely a difference. Not including if you check out my video on YouTube, you'll see the packaging is freaking insane. It's like you open a box with this gold antique like lettering everywhere, and then when you open the box, which is magnetic, inside you got this crazy foam like kind of pouch. And like the zipper's got the little metal Marfione dagger on it, and then the pouch has got a big dagger on it. And then you open that up, and then it's in a silky pouch inside the pouch. And I mean, it's like the presentation's insane. The microfiber cloth is like sealed inside a little plastic piece, and it's got a huge certificate of authenticity, and it's like aluminum. It's not even a piece of paper. Which is rad.
That's just so cool. Well, yeah. I got to say, it reminds me a little bit of, I have 2 daughters, and they're young, and there's this toy that everyone's obsessed with, and it's all about unboxing. You unwrap the toy, and then inside the toy, there's like a million little pieces, and they're all wrapped, and you pull them out, and the whole thing is like, it's basically a toy version of unboxing for kids.
Right.
And this the Marfione custom sounds like they went way out of their way to make not only the knife sweet, but the packaging. I mean, it just sounds like it's fun to open.
They are fun to open. The first time I ever got a Marfione custom, I was super impressed. It made the knife that much better. It just like, because I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, like the unboxing experience, it adds a lot of fun to the whole thing. I've had like my Tough from Jeff Blauvelt. That thing, just like Ian's knives, they come in a Walmart microfiber cloth in a box, from USPS. That's all you get. And you get a business card in there, right? Like a lot of custom makers are infamous for this. And I don't mind, like that's fine. I actually went on eBay, spent like $8, got a little pouch that I just zip it in, and then now it's got its own pouch, which is fun. So it doesn't matter to me. But the fact that somebody goes out of their way and makes this really cool packaging. So when you first get this box, you open up your box from the mail, and then that's exciting. And then you get to this other box, and there's all this fancy lettering, everything. I mean, just the whole experience is fun for me,
Back, bitches.
Oh, you're back.
See, Tom, this doesn't happen when we use Skype.
Hey, everyone else has been perfect.
Everyone else has just been perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Steve.
Part 2.
Yes.
So yeah, the unboxing experience is just good overall. It's fun for me. I know some people don't care, but I like it.
Yeah, but on the flip side, Alex, there's people though where and I know I've met a couple where the packaging is huge.
Yep.
BJ said, cost an extra $300 for fancy packages. Give me a goddamn cardboard box.
BJ is the guy that came to mind when I was saying, some people don't care about the packaging, because I think on a previous episode that's something that he said before.
That's funny. I tend to veer in that direction. I mean, I like knowing that they've spent the extra time and they've put forth the energy to think of how they're presenting themselves. But at the end of the day, that's just another box I got to keep in case I'm selling it.
Yeah.
And so to me, I'm with you, Alex. I enjoy the unboxing experience, but then after it's out of the box, I kind of could care less. But I still hold on to it just in case.
It's kind of like when you're about to go out at night and try to get laid. If you beat off, then you're like, it's all over now. Like, I don't really care that much.
The urgency.
Yeah, you blow your load and you're like, it's not really that important.
All right, everybody, in case you've been listening to this podcast, I just want to let you know it went from PG to rated R instantly. Yep. Here.
Yep.
So if you have children in the room, as Steve would say, please let them.
You can keep them. Yeah, you can keep them if you want. Just do so at your own risk.
Yeah.
Send your kids to your moms.
Yes.
So guess how many new knives I have to show off?
None.
Well, 3, technically 4.
You mean how many knives your girlfriend has to show off?
Damn it, there it is.
That took like 38 seconds.
Damn.
Yeah, at least took me like 5 or 10 minutes.
That's a new record. That's a new record. That's going on in the Sharp Talk record books.
Well, I had to make up for lost time since you didn't invite me for the first hour to keep my
fastest
influence.
Tom roast.
Hey Tom, it's envy. It's envy. We all want a sugar mom, okay?
You all want my little hands.
What'd you get?
The Whopper hand.
Yes. So I have a Real Steel Metamorph. That is what my girlfriend got me for our anniversary. Super cool.
See, it started with your girlfriend already. I knew it.
Whatever. Blue aluminum scales. They're all milled. I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera or not. Probably not. But they have this nice milling pattern. It's actually on roller bearings, which is pretty unique. Or technically needle bearings, I think is what they call them. They're like cylindrical shaped instead of being ball shaped.
So I have a question, Tom.
Yes.
Because I have one of those. I have the battle box version of it.
Yeah.
How's the cutting of the scales on the inside? Like, do you see some imperfections in there or anything?
Maybe a little bit. Not too bad though.
A whole lot. I was just curious if mine was
just a tiny bit. Like, it's a really nice knife for the $50 that they ask for. The detent's really tuned well. You can really flip it really nice. This is my first front flipper.
Well, you're doing a pretty damn good job, though.
I've played with it a lot. So it's a really, really fun knife, and it's definitely, for the price, it's very nice. You can definitely tell it's not something that's, elite. It's nice for what it costs. I also have a Topps Mini Scandy Folder 4.0 in micarta, and I think the steel on this one's N690 Cobalt. I actually won this on a raffle on Instagram for $10. So
nice.
Sweet.
It is very nice. Detent's tuned very nice. It's got a nice drop shut action almost.
Is that
nice drop shut action?
Shut up.
Is that a Scandi grind?
Yes, it's a Scandi, but it has a very small micro bevel on it.
Nice.
We always do.
Yep. It's super nice. I don't think I'm gonna keep it because it's not really my style. But for $10, sure.
You should donate it to me so I can toughness test the Scandi grind.
I was thinking about selling it for funds.
I'll give you $15 for it.
I shouldn't have told you what I paid.
How about this? I'll give you 20 for it right now.
Don't go very far to get those test knives for us for $15.
What was that?
Come on, $20. Double your money. Double your money.
How about I start at 75 so we can meet at 50?
We can start at 75 and meet at 20.
No. Anyhow, nice knife for the money. It's like $100. I think it's made by it's one of the Italian factories, and it's made Mazarin. Yeah, it's very nicely done. I was very impressed.
So much so that you want to get rid of it.
It's just not my style. I also have another Swiss Army knife. So this is my second one. This one I actually got through work. It's actually a Carhartt special edition. Let's see if I can get you guys a little bit better picture of it. It kind of has like an old school war poster, like type look to an old school cartoon.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
It's very neat.
For everybody that's watching that, for size reference, that knife's only an inch long.
It's a classic, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say that's a Sack classic. That little keychain knife. That's how small Tom's hands are.
Yeah, his hands are so small. The knife is only actually this big.
Jesus. See, Steve joins, and now everybody's a comic.
Yeah, it throws everything like in the air.
And
I'm like a big ugly wrench. I just come in, fuck up the whole wheel.
the fourth
Steve, does that
knife.
say Wusthof on your arm? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Does that say Wusthof, like trident, on your arm?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah, I was lame. Decided to get a tattoo that said a knife company that I don't even like.
Hey, man, that's ironic. So, I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Tom.
No, you're fine.
That's like getting an ex-girlfriend's name tattooed on your chest.
Yeah.
Basically. Do it, Alex. In the time that you've known me, do I look like the type of guy that makes good life decisions?
No.
Not
There
always.
we go. Exactly. There we go. You're lucky I didn't get it across my neck.
I don't even want to go there, man. You know, like
I'm gonna get it right across here. Henkels or Shun right there. Global right here.
M-Tech.
See,
Yeah.
Steve, you're the guy that someone always wants to hang out with because you never know what the hell you're gonna do.
yeah.
We might just go get global tattoos on our neck. Who knows?
It always
You know?
starts.
Yeah.
It always starts with, "Hey guys, I got a great idea."
Mhm.
Hold this for me.
Hold my beer.
Watch this.
Yeah.
Hold my beer. Watch this.
So the fourth knife I actually don't have with me anymore. It was a Laconico upside down Jasmine by Alliance Designs.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about that.
Yeah, we talked about that last night. We were testing out Google Hangouts.
I wasn't invited to this.
You weren't
How-
because you would have been 3 hours late.
How do you like Alliance Designs?
So
stuff?
this is my first Alliance Designs, and everybody raves about them. So this knife I was really excited for because it has a super deep hollow grind. I'm a huge fan of Laconico designs. They're very simplistic. That had 3D contoured titanium handles. So I got it in hand and I liked it and it flipped well. And I was like, I kind of want to, see if I can make this a little bit better because it wasn't quite like drop shut. And I kind of wanted to see if I could get it there. It felt like there was like metal shavings in with the bearings, like it wasn't completely cleaned out.
Mhm.
Took it apart real fast, cleaned everything out, put it back together, and immediately just terrible lock stick, awful. And so I cleaned the lock face. I took it all back apart again, cleaned the lock face, put a smaller amount of lube on it, put it back together. And the lock stick was almost double what it was initially, so I couldn't fix it.
Is there an insert?
No, it was carbidized.
This is why we can't have nice things, Tom. It happens when you touch stuff. See?
So-
Meddling in it. Little fucking aerosol can would have helped.
Listen,
Jerk.
listen. If I can't take a knife apart and maintain it without something getting messed up, that knife was poorly designed. Something's wrong there. So that wasn't the only issue I had with it, though. So that was one of the issues. I can live with lock stick, though. Lock stick isn't a deal breaker for me. The other thing was, so it's 3D contoured, right? But they didn't break any of the edges of the contouring. So it was contoured, but the very edges, like where your hands would touch, were still sharp. So
That's weird.
if you went to like squeeze it like this, it would dig straight into your hands.
You're like, it's really comfortable on my palm and really painful right here on
Yeah,
my fingers.
My fingers hurt. So,
Yeah.
So that was one of the issues as well. That was kind of annoying, but I could also live with that.
Your fingers hurt because you have baby hands.
There we go. And Alex for the strike.
So let me ask you guys this question here. This because you're talking about lock stick,
Yes.
and I've been thinking lately. You know, I have a number of knives that are titanium frame locks, and they don't have any lock stick, and they part from the blade beautifully, and everything's great.
Yes.
And then there are other knives where it's not like that. And then you have the insert. Does the insert allow for slop? Does the insert allow for less less care in the manufacturing process? What do you think about that?
I don't think so. I think I don't know. It's one of those things that people got way too concerned over that wasn't really an issue, that the titanium was going to wear so much that, they needed something harder like a steel insert.
Have you guys heard of Andrew Demko's take on lock stick?
Yeah.
So Andrew Demko likes lock stick.
I don't mind it to a degree.
Because he's basically saying that if you have a little bit of lock stick on titanium to the back of the blade tang, that you have a nice secure lock is what it is. And that's something that he actually likes. And personally, I agree with him 100%. I don't think, and keep in mind, like the Norseman, which I just spent like $940 on. That knife has 0 lock stick, and it's the lock bar is so light. I just like touch it with my pinky and disengage it. Mm-hmm. And when I use the knife, it's perfect lockup. But you're paying for that kind of like CNC precision, right? So that's a whole different other level. But I think a little bit of lock stick has really 0 effect on me personally.
I think it comes down to a tactile thing. It's like a finicky thing for me. Like it doesn't ruin the experience of using it or anything like that. But just when you and then click, and it's like, yes, I know it was obviously it was securely locked because it's stuck. But I don't know. So to me, that's a fidget thing. That's like a second level of importance. Yeah.
If it's like a really light amount of lock stick, it doesn't bother me. I don't know if you guys have heard of the term Shiro stick.
Yes.
Like how they get like a little bit, like Shiros tend to have a tiny bit of lock stick. Enough that you can.
That's because the lock bar can only go halfway over. So it doesn't get lock stick because they have shit geometry on those locks. That's why. They stick a big piece of metal so it can't go over.
The Shiro, the only one that's known to have lock stick on the Shiro is the Hatian.
Yeah, the Hatian. See, the Hatian that I have on loan doesn't have it, but the F95 that I had on loan did. It's like there's just a slight little, like, tiny click that you feel.
So the thing with lock stick, okay, when you have a titanium frame lock with no insert, right? A lot of times, so it's friction, right? We're dealing with 2 angular surfaces, right? So based on lock bar tension, and that geometry is what gives you a lockup. When you're dealing with untreated titanium, okay, untreated titanium, you're going to get pretty decent lock stick every time, right? This is where where Andrew Demko was talking about lock stick being a security thing. When you look back 10, 12 years ago when people weren't treating the titanium because they wanted that it's called adhesive wear. When 2 different metals touch and then they break, it's adhesive wear. So what you're getting is basically a chemical bond that starts. When nowadays people treat their titanium, they harden it. They either carburize the lock face or they treat the whole thing. If you look at a Norseman, I spoke to Sky in depth about it. They treat that titanium so you don't get, that in the matter of how their geometry is set up, you don't get lock stick. The reason I get lock stick on steel insert knives because it's a matter of friction. The actual the face of the blade tang, the surface finish of the blade tang, and the surface finish of the lock interface can cause blade play. That's why if you get oil or any kind of lubricant on a lock face, it slides too far over and causes that lock stick. Or sometimes how they're cut, one might be smooth and one might be rough, and that causes the lock to seat deeper in and not pull, and when you go to pop it out. So you can get lock stick with a steel insert or with a titanium insert for different reasons. You know what I mean? And you can have slip for different reasons. It could either be a lack of friction, too much friction, bad geometry, bad lock bar tension. So there's a lot of, I've never made a folder, but there's so many things that go into getting a frame lock and getting that engagement proper. I don't think a lot of people realize how much goes into it.
Yeah.
But what the Grimsmo brothers do is like, I don't know what they did. They sold their soul to the devil. I don't have no idea how they fucking – no, literally, you can handle every one of those knives. And like he said, you could blow that lock bar over with your breath if you wanted to. But you could grab that knife and hammer it through a steel rail, and it's not going to move any direction. Those guys, I don't know how they do that, but it's unbelievable.
That was the one thing about the Norseman that just blew my socks off. The lock in particular was incredible to me. It was mind-blowing because it was so light, like Steve was saying, like you could like I said, I could literally take my pinky finger and unlock it, and it's got like a very decent, it's kind of got a short lock bar, and usually those are a lot tougher to move over on a lot of knives, like a Spyderco Tough. But on the Norseman, it was so easy to disengage. But yet, when you're using the knife, it is so solidly locked. It's really quite strange. It's like almost witchcraft. It's pretty impressive.
It is straight up black magic, what they do.
Yeah.
Norseman brothers, guys, if you hear me, y'all are witches. Y'all are straight up witches. I don't know what you did. You sold your soul to the devil. You're like the Robert Johnson of the fucking knife world. You sold your soul to the devil at the crossroads, and y'all figured out how to make lock geometry perfect. Because you're Canadian. That makes a lot more sense. It's Canadian black magic.
It's
black magic.
That's why we couldn't recognize it immediately.
Exactly. The maple leaf magic right there, but that's what they got going on. I don't know. They drizzle it. They soak them in maple syrup. I don't know. I'm not Canadian. I don't know what they do. They do something. It's ridiculous what they do. Yeah, I don't mind lock stick, but I think the majority of people are bothered by lock stick, and so that's why I think the lock bar insert was a knee-jerk reaction from the knife makers as opposed to carburizing or working on lock geometry, throwing in a steel lock bar insert. You saw with the ZT controversy, right? With the spine locks, everyone ZT's failing. It's happened to me. It's happened to other people. Some people does, some people doesn't. That was them throwing a lock bar insert and not accounting for the geometry and how steel is going to interact. And that's why they got slippage. You don't see it anymore because they've since, I think, corrected that. But that's a perfect example of the whole wearing of a titanium lock face is so overblown. Like,
and you know what the direct proof of that is, Steve?
The Sabenza?
Exactly. The Sabenza from like the 90s still roaming around. And they're still functioning perfectly. I
just had a Sabenza, a CF, a carbon fiber Sabenza, that was from 2011, right? I got it from 2011. I took it apart and put some grease on it. There is, when I took pictures of it, when I say there is absolutely no wear. You couldn't even tell a lock has ever even been used. There's nothing, zero, nada, not a scratch, not a nick, not a dent, not a shiny spot, nothing. And that knife is 8 years old. 8 years old. I'm probably the 5th owner of that knife, using it over and over and over again. And there's not a single. That's how you do. Lo and behold, Chris Reeves, inventor of the integral lock, knows how to make a frame lock work. Go figure. How to figure it out.
Yep.
Imagine that.
So
yeah, imagine that. Imagine that.
I'm sorry, Tom, but just to stay on the lock face insert for just a second, I remember when they first came out, the whole selling point was, well, this is going to wear down, and you can unscrew it and adjust it and move it further in, and then when that craps out, you just order another lock face insert from ZT. Like, I bet that has never, ever, literally ever once happened.
Ever.
Yeah.
It's like, the only knives I've ever seen actual lock face wear was on Striders. The 2 Striders that I own had and that's because they don't. They have those titanium lock faces that they use are completely unheated. It's untreated. It's raw titanium. That's why they get bad lock stick, and that's the reason why they have wear. They don't treat those at all. Even if they carburize it, it doesn't matter. It's soft. You know what I mean? A lot of other makers tend to treat the titanium so you don't get that wear.
Well, that's so true, because you guys remember when I got my Strider, it had shit lock stick, like crazy lock stick.
Crazy.
Literally within a couple of weeks, it was gone. So you know it has to be giving from somewhere.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And this is just my experience. I've owned two. I have an SMF and I owned an SMG, a relatively new one. And those are the only two knives I've ever seen with, I mean, that SMF I have, I'm the second owner of it, so it's an older model. But literally the lock face, if you look at the lock face, the corner of it is like this. It's worn down. When I'm telling you it's worn, it's worn. I had to take it apart and re-tension the lock bar to get it to seat deep because had lock rock. You could shake it like a fucking maraca. I could sit here and click, 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 because it wasn't engaging.
Yeah.
Because it was away. But that's Strider. That's like the one knife breaker in the world. He doesn't give a flying fuck about what he puts out the same knife for 20 fucking years. He doesn't give a fuck about what anybody says. Oh, you want to
love him or leave him?
Yeah, still got a blade that goes in front of the damn lanyard hole. Still has the same shitty fucking lockup. Still has the same shitty fucking tie frame. Same shitty fucking. Still replaces the goddamn external stop pins because the flat face wears. Never changes the goddamn thing. The only guy in the world that does that. He just keeps putting out that because the design is cool. Everybody will buy it.
Yep.
Fuck that guy. He's fucking weird.
So
you guys?
before we got onto that, I had my one fatal flaw with that USD Jasmine.
Oh, the fatal flaw. Let's hear it.
Fatal flaw. So
Fatal.
if you open the knife like this, halfway open, and you pushed and pulled up and down on that blade, you could hear clicking, like a knocking sound. And it was because the hole that was drilled for the pivot in the blade was probably at least a 16th or a 32nd of an inch too big for the pivot that it was sitting on.
Oh,
Are you talking about lash right now?
Blade lash, yes.
You're talking
Terrible.
about pivot lash.
Terrible. I've never once experienced that on a knife, and I was like, come on, dude. For $330?
that's disappointing, man.
Hold on. Did you say you've never experienced pivot lash?
Never.
I will pull out every single knife in my collection right now and show you pivot lash. Bar one, which is a Medford.
That's
Really?
because you on them through copper.
Yeah, that's not fair.
What?
You baton it through copper.
Copper.
Okay. First off, I baton them through steel wire, not copper. Thank you very much. Then the knives I will show you have not been batoned through anything yet. Every single one, if you disengage that lock bar, there's some pivot lash other than the Medford, but Medford's anal about that kind of stuff.
Well, this was awful because I could hear like significant like clicking.
No.
You could move it a decent amount.
It seems like if you're a brand new company and you're putting out, you're kind of the exclusive distributor of Laconico designs at the moment.
Yes.
You know,
high-end ones at least.
Two things. It seems like you might start out not charging $300 per knife until you get a name and you're proven. And then the other thing is you would imagine that those first knives that leave the factory are going to be, nuts on and the best quality controlled knives that ever come out of there. You know,
Yeah.
you'd think at the beginning they wouldn't let something like that go out.
So let me kind of explain what Alliance Designs really is, or as far as I understand it. So they're a producer. They don't actually make the knives. They have another company make the knife for them.
Oh, they're like a mass drop.
Exactly.
Sort of.
Exactly.
Okay.
They facilitate all the changes to the design and make the final say. So like what happens is, so Laconico is good friends with the guys at Alliance Designs.
Mm-hmm.
So he sells them a design. They say that's the design that they're going to use for this model. Alliance Designs then goes to a manufacturer, whether it be Kaiser or We or Riot, and say, we want this knife made. So then they get a prototype sent to them. They make the final tweaks. Ray has no say in it. They make the final tweaks on it, and then it becomes a production knife. So as far as I know with Alliance, what they do, they farm out different portions of the operation to different companies.
That's the problem right there.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a Frankenblade right there.
Yes. So the blade was 110% Riot. You could just tell by the grinds, the satin grinds on it was 110% Riot. Blade grind was flawless. Something got lost in translation somewhere on what that pivot size was supposed to be. whoever made the pivot for it made it too small.
Tom, are you sure that's how that works?
110%.
You're positive that this knife was not made completely by Riot?
110%.
I
How?
doubt it, man. If they had, I've never seen any bad knives come out of Riyadh. Not one.
There's a couple of guys that are good friends with the guys over at Alliance, and that's how they explain things. They won't specifically say that they've said before that they use different manufacturers for different portions of the knife.
If you guys want to find out, you might as well just ask Ryan, because Ryan's in deep with those guys.
And let me say that their customer service was
Ryan.
excellent as far as returning it goes. I got a hold of them, explained all the issues and everything. They literally got back to me in less than five minutes. I had a response.
Wow.
They said, "I'm sorry you're having issues with it. Is there anything we can do? Can we offer to hand pick you a replacement? Check it, make sure everything's okay." And I was like, "Can you give me just a minute to decide?" Because I hadn't decided if I wanted it yet or if that had kind of left a bad taste in my mouth for the design in general. And then I got back to them. I said, I think I'd pretty much just like a refund at this point. She was awesome. She said, "That's perfectly fine. Just send the knife back. As soon as we get the knife back, it'll be refunded to your PayPal." As soon as that knife got there, I got the refund. So they were excellent.
So the idea they have some company make the handle, some company make the lock, some company make the blade, and then they assemble it all there in California.
I don't think. Yeah, I think that's how it goes. Is that everything's assembled by them, or maybe it's assembled at a different factory, a third factory.
Jeez, man.
Because so when I got it, so the hardware seemed like it was Riot hardware, and the blade seemed like it was a Riot blade, but the handle didn't seem like it was Riot.
There's a problem when there's too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yes. So and then when I got it, it was in. So it comes in a nice Alliance Designs pouch, and then inside of that pouch, it was in like a vacuum sealed plastic baggie. So nobody even checked it once it was already in there.
Oh, interesting.
So, also the centering was off a little bit. I forgot about that. Just a hair.
Which is really sad because Ray Laconico is killing it in the custom field right now.
That's a badass design. I love the design.
He's killing it right now. Like, I mean, his designs are very cool and very different. And so the fact that Alliance designs are coming out and they're not nice and, quality checked is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
What would be the manufacturing benefit to outsourcing different parts of one knife?
I think they were just trying to keep costs as low as possible while
What I'm
maintaining
saying is,
quality.
what I'm saying is these are all being made in China, right?
Yeah.
All the parts. So how would the manufacturing, I'm trying to figure out how the manufacturing, it would be beneficial on a cost standpoint to shipping the blade versus the body versus the screws to two different places.
I don't think Riot is that cheap as far as getting knives made from them.
No.
Because they have such a big schedule, and they're pretty blown up right now. So if you got like the blade, at least the blade would have the nice, perfect grinds and everything. That's the business end of the knife.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get Kaiser or somebody else to make the frame, then But then it's kind of true what Steve says because.
I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it.
How are you going to get that geometry from blade frame to the frame to match up right if you got two manufacturers doing it, right?
It's a reliance on the CAD file, I think. Oh, well, if the CAD file's right, just put it in your machine and it'll be fine.
I'm just trying to think.
At the same time, though, everybody has a tolerance range. So even if you have a CAD file, you might get two at the opposite ends of the tolerance range. Might be what happened to Tom.
Yep.
And now you
Definitely.
got all kinds of problems somewhere.
I know I had a friend of mine, the guy who sent me the F95, he got one too and had all the exact same issues that I did. He didn't have the lock stick issue, but he had the pivot lash and the non-chamfered corners, which is a huge oversight to 3D contour a handle and then not chamfer the corners. I don't see what the point of that is, But there was a flat scaled version. Those corners were chamfered.
Weird.
So how do you miss? I don't understand.
See, that seems like a cost issue. How much was that knife?
$330. Both knives costed the same. Flat scales or 3D contoured were both $330.
Okay, there you go. That's what I'm saying. So if you're going to take a flat scale and heavily chamfer the edges, that's more machining involved. If you're going to sit there and keep the edges flat and then contour it, you see what I'm saying? I can see where the cost differentiate is the same.
I'd pay $10 or $15 more to have the whole thing contoured the way it should have been.
Heard. But again, I'm just trying to figure out this whole. It's public knowledge who made the knife, Riot, right? The price of the knife is within Riot's normal range of $350 to $400.
Yeah.
Why would you make it in two separate facilities? I don't understand.
Me neither. The Angry Baby Bear was 100% Riot made, I'm pretty sure, and that one was like $425.
So why wouldn't they do this one?
Albeit that was a little bit more complex with all the inlays that they did.
That was a big success.
Yes, I want that knife. I still do.
That knife was a big success.
That one's
I
awesome.
think the knife was made in house at Riot. They just had a. I mean, name one other knife that they had that they've ever fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's perfect all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like I would think it would make more sense. It would be more logical if the knife was made all at Riot. They just got something wrong. Then it was like they're gonna ship it over here and have these guys make this, have these guys make the blade with Riot's name and reputation at stake on a wing and a prayer, hoping the CAD files are right, and then ship the shit to California or wherever else. We're just gonna put all it together and hope that there's nothing wrong with it.
I still find it kind of strange that Alliance Designs won't come out and say it's Riot made. Riot made is a huge selling point right now.
Yeah, I would think so too. I would think that would be something you'd want to brag about a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Like you've never heard of us before, but we make everything from Riot. Oh, okay, you've heard of Riot? All right. If you like the design, you know that the knife is going to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most
Theoretically.
I want to say one of the most to use the word anal, but I'm going to. One of the most anal custom knife makers out there, Brian from Sharp Eye Design, exclusively uses Riot for all his production stuff. And that says a lot because Brian is very, very, very particular about his stuff.
Yeah, I had 2 Riots before this, and they were absolutely flawless, but 2 out of whoever knows how many hundred is a very small sample size.
So Alliance Design hasn't publicly said it's made by Riot.
No, they say that they use multiple manufacturers for it. That's all they've said.
So do we know? So we don't know for a fact that any of it came from Riot.
The blade was 110% Riot. There's no mistaking that.
How do we know this if they haven't told us?
The grind is 110% Riot.
See, here's my thing. If they're using multiple manufacturers, does that mean that 300 of them are made by Riot, 300 of them were made by We? I mean, maybe that's what the issue is. And yours and your buddies came from a batch that was made by somebody who messed up the pivot.
Yeah, you got the batch that was made by Ganzo. That's what you got. You got the motherfucking Ganzo batch, bro.
I got the M-Tech Laconico collab.
That's what you got.
Jeez. I don't know.
You got that Ganzo batch.
Are you guys ready to go into the knives?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
I was just a little disappointed with the whole ordeal.
Yeah, that's a bummer, man.
Oh well.
Because I've heard everybody's pretty excited about Alliance Design right now.
So hang on, I want to get everybody's opinions here, as well as the people on the podcast. Before I have a dilemma. So the K390 PM2 is releasing at the end of this week.
Ask your girlfriend; she'll tell you exactly.
Thank you. You took the words out of my mouth.
God damn it!
Ask your girlfriend. She will tell you whether or not you want it.
So, K390 PM2, $185, $15 shipping, $200 total.
What color are the scales?
Foliage green, like the old LMAX run.
Oh, that's cool.
You will never see me pay more than $150 for a fucking Spider
Okay,
Co.
hang on. Do I buy that?
No.
Or I have a chance to buy a Sig Sauer P320X carry, bronze slide.
Oh, come on, man.
For $290.
That sounds way cooler.
Yeah, come on. You already know the shirt that I have already.
No brainer.
Sell your knives, buy guns.
But yeah, we have a shirt for Alex that says "Sell Knives, Buy Guns." So, see, I don't know. Like, I want to test K390, but I know K390 is coming down the line for us with our test knives.
Dude,
that
you
we
can
have.
get a police, right? K390.
Get a police.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was gonna ask. The K390 is what they have on the police, right?
Damn, that's a 4.5-inch blade. That's a big knife.
Oh, you can't handle 4.5
Or
inches, Tom? Is
what
that
I
what it is?
what I also
His
might
hands
wait
are
for.
too small.
Yeah, look at these things. So anyhow, there's also Sal has also confirmed that they're doing the whole Endura family in K390 at some point after October. So
Okay.
Endura, Endella, Delica, Dragonfly, all that.
Well, there you go. That answers it.
There you go.
So
Get a gun. Fuck that
P320X carry sounds pretty damn good for $290.
Yeah, gun.
Although
Yeah.
don't drop that P320 because it's gonna go off.
That is true.
Tom,
Yeah.
Tom, it's real easy, man. If I have my choice, even if they were the same price, I would take the Endura or the Endella in K390 over the PM2 1,000 times out of 1,000 times.
That's what I was kind of leaning to.
Why?
Twice I've done.
I've just really come to dislike the compression lock on pretty much everything.
Why is that?
It's a huge hotspot.
I tend to agree.
It's
If you're slowly
great
opening the
that
knife,
Spider. Yeah, I mean it's if you want to play with it and only play with it, that's great. But every knife that I have that has a compression lock, I feel like would be better with a different kind of lock.
See, my reasoning for wanting it, and this might be selfish as a content creator, is I wanted it to be able to test it because I know that Endura line is coming down the road, and a lot of people are going to be looking for info on that steel on YouTube. So I kind of wanted to get ahead of the curve and have a bunch of info out there for K390 for the public. You know what I mean?
Oh, look at you turn into a regular slicey dicey. You gotta get the fucking video out first, right?
I just wanted to
look
get
at
ahead
you
of the
slicey.
curve. Listen,
Baby Brian. Little baby Brian. Look at him. Baby Brian.
I wanted to get ahead of the curve, so I had videos out there for that future run because I know people are going to be looking for it.
Well, you know what's great about that? Steve already did it, and I have a Police 4 K390 coming to test.
There you go. But you guys don't do the whole long-term testing stuff like I do. Well, I guess Gerald does. Gerald does.
The person who's sending me the police, so I'm sure I'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get the video out first then anyway, Tom. So why are you worried about getting the...
Yes, Steve already beat you.
I'd totally get the video out first. Gerald stockpiles 30 videos for months. It doesn't matter.
Let's get into
the knives.
Oh,
looks like I'm buying a gun.
I'm gonna start with the hot topic. Are you gonna do the screen share, Tom?
Yep, I'm turning it on right now.
All right, I'll wait till you're ready to go.
Steve,
We're
what's up with that pyramid?
gonna talk about a Benchmade today. I know Bob knows this one.
Do you guys see everything okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
We're gonna be talking about the Gold Class Crooked River.
Boy.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Something immediately comes to mind with that, and that is, I think Hitler said it, or Goebbels, or someone. But if you're going to tell a lie, make it gigantic, and then people will buy into it.
Yes.
100%. See, something comes to mind too when I see that Benchmade Gold Class Crooked River, and that's getting fucked in the ass prison style, because that's what happens if you spend $1,500 on
Steve, don't mince your words. What do you really mean?
That's it's a $1,500 bench. Okay, bro. Yeah, sure, Benchmade. Jeez,
Okay.
you're reaching.
So I think the knife is excellent. It's the cracked ice finish is really cool. The pivot, the bolsters. I don't know why the bolsters are Damascus and the blade is not, especially for $1,500.
Yes.
But it's 20 CV, bro.
20 CV.
And it's coated so it'll never rust, bro.
So
Ever.
here's my other question: you can get a custom shop built for about $500 in a Dama steel blade.
Yep.
and this is $1,500, and I have no idea why. I really wish that somebody could help me justify why this thing costs so damn much money. I mean, it is a cool knife, but I honestly see, and if we want to go as high as I could see in value, more than even I'm willing to pay, I could see maybe $700.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
It's materials that they haven't used before in the past with that unidirectional carbon fiber and then the cracked ice finish.
Alex, how much was your Norseman?
$900.
Okay, so this knife costs $600 more than your 100% in-house, handmade, CNC piece of perfection Norseman.
That's what they say these are too. 100% handmade.
Mic drop. That's it.
There's no reason why I would, and me, like me and Bob were talking about this earlier, is I like to pay the extra money for the fancy stuff. There is no way I am that stupid. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a dick, but
part of the beauty of this knife, in particular, the Crooked River, is it's especially in the wood handle. It's a tip of the hat to older knives. Simpler, like you think of the Buck 110 and those kind of knives, and really, I don't want to see these materials on this knife. What I would really like to see is the original wood-handled one with green micarta, because with that goofy orange backspacer, it would look beautiful. I think that this, the gold class version, is kind of an Emperor's New Clothes kind of thing, personally.
Yeah.
It's lipstick on a fucking pig is what it is.
I don't know. I think that's kind of an insult, me personally, to people's intelligence. I mean,
yes, exactly, Alex.
It's kind of it's even for me.
It's arrogant.
A little bit of a bougie kind of knife collector. Like even for me, that's like that. That's there's no way.
Well,
no
I mean, they also have to understand that if someone's going to put out $1,500 for a knife, almost like every time, it's not going to be a Benchmade.
Yep.
Yeah.
Almost every time, it's going to be something handmade, something custom, something special. This is a special Crooked River. It's a Crooked River.
It is a Crooked River. And again, I reiterate, I think I can build a better Crooked River on Custom Shop for a third of the price.
Yep. From Crooked River, a great $200 knife.
Yes.
Right.
So
right.
If you thought this was an insult to your intelligence, do you want to see a different one?
Yes, please.
Oh, here we go.
Bring on the pain.
I know exactly where Tom's going.
Yep.
To his girlfriend's mailbox.
Hey, Tom, you stay with her, man. She sounds like a keeper, like I said.
She's bought me some badass knives over the years.
He's definitely a keeper.
I have to log in for this one.
It's just Tom, he...
I hope Tom stays with her, because if not, I'm gonna have less material to fuck with him about. So you stay with her, Tom. You stay with her.
By the way, what's her last name?
No.
Because that's gonna be your last name.
Yes.
Yep.
Let me put a little contrast on the situation. Some of us have our significant others say, "Honey, what do you want for your birthday?" And I say, "I want a knife." "I'm not getting you a knife."
Yep.
Well, okay, then why'd you ask me in the first place?
Yep.
I'm in the same boat, guys. That's different for me.
So if you thought the Crooked River was an insult to your intelligence, look at this new gold class Griptilian. Does this look familiar to anybody?
Looks like a regular Griptilian.
It's like a 22 Griptilian with Damascus.
It's a -1 Griptilian with Damasteel and what they call their Battle Wash Finish G10. Are you ready for the price?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Only $600.
Oh, jeez.
Go fuck yourself. Like,
Wow.
I've gone to bat for Benchmade for a lot of things, honest to God, but I legitimately think that Benchmade is, like, they've lost their fucking mind. Like, they're, like I don't know. I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say.
Well, look at it this way. You got a nation full of 350 million people. There have to be 100 people out there who are going to buy these. you know.
And here,
And to me, it's like you said, it's lipstick on a pig. Not that the Griptilian is a pig, but I mean it is like there's such a huge jump in price for such a small. I mean, I don't know. It's not modern.
here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. So on their custom shop, they just recently added Damasteel for the Crooked River. Okay, they also just added Damasteel for the Barrage. They have not yet added Damasteel for the Griptilian because they were planning on releasing this knife, and as soon as this knife is gone, I'm sure they're going to put Damasteel for the Griptilian in the custom shop.
Right.
For
And
$200 less.
Look, it's got the dick clip, the
But it's
split arrow dick clip.
But it's DLC coded.
Yeah. Like, so it's a black dick clip. It's
Yes.
a BBC dick clip.
Yeah.
It's a BBCC. Right? It's a BBCC, big black cock clip.
Jesus.
That rolls right off the tongue. Oh, I can't believe I said that.
Oh, we see.
Oh, yes.
Finally. No, what? See that? Okay, Benchmade selling a $1,500 Gold Class Crooked River and a $600 Griptilian is the equivalent to when you see the 4V Shaman listed at $600 by price gouger online.
I'm sorry. It's
That's
$400.
exactly what that is.
It's
That is
$453.
arrogant, and that is robbing.
$450 because the price was in Canadian.
Oh, come on, Tom.
So it's another $250 more than
Oh, come on, Tom. You got us thinking it was a $600
You
Griptilian.
son of a bitch. I'm voting Tom off the show right now.
Me too.
You let me do all the talking and you do the pictures, Tom.
Okay.
Now we got to fact check him. God.
I'll be your picture bitch.
All right, so the next knife we're going to be talking about is another Benchmade.
Oh, yay.
The Benchmade OTF Autocrat.
Oh.
Oh, the autocrat. The new OTF.
Yes.
Yes, this guy.
I
So
think
there it
the
is.
autocrat. I think the autocrat looks interesting in that. First of all, it's a big blade. It's a 3.71 inch blade. I like the larger blades. Oh, that's nice. That's a Heretic.
This is a Guardian Tactical.
Guardian. Okay, that's gorgeous, man. But the autocrat is double edged. I love double edged. It's got a long blade. I like that. But I'm not so sure. I have just so you all know, I have I have 4 out the sides, but I don't have any out the fronts aside from a Lightning, which is a $35 pickup from somewhere. But I wonder how the I love aluminum construction, and I wonder how the out the front is going to feel with G10. Is G10 going to rattle apart after a while? Like, what do you guys think?
I think it's going to be durable.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
I think
Really?
it's going to be durable.
Hogue has been doing it for years.
Who has?
Hogue.
Hogue's been using G10?
Yes.
Oh yeah, and they're out the front. That's right. Yeah. That Elishewitz design with the Tanto.
Which, by the way, that's a way better looking knife. Me and Tom were talking about this knife last night, and I think the Hogue is a better option for the price than the Benchmade.
Why? Because there's more protection for sliding up on the blade and a thrust on the Hogue, or
I just think that you're spending about $100 less, and you're getting something probably a little bit better in fit and finish, and then you're gonna get, I mean, don't get me wrong, that Autocrat is a very nice looking OTF. $400 is a little bit high. I think that's about 100 higher than what it should be.
$425.
I gotta say, I thought part of the G10 push was, besides lightness, I also thought it was going to be less expensive.
No.
I didn't look far into it, but
It's more
I mean,
expensive.
I'd rather buy it.
what am I thinking?
I would much rather buy an Infidel at that point,
So
The Infidel looks uncomfortable with the slider on the side, though. I gotta say.
So the way I understand the G10 handled OTFs is that they're still built on an aluminum chassis. So the internals are all still aluminum. It's just G10 over top.
Okay.
So you lose some of the weight from a fully aluminum one, but you still maintain the rigidity of it
Right.
for the internals.
Or then in some cases that's pretty cool, because if you drop the thing on the floor, it's going to be more durable than the aluminum's going to take a nick right off the bat.
Lipstick on a pig.
But the Hogue. Look at the Hogue. Look at the price of the Hogue and look at the Hogue.
Thank you.
And it's got just as intricate machining as the Autocrat does around the corners.
Yeah.
And you can, get it in that very cool G-Mascus.
Yes. And this isn't the only option.
Yeah, no.
Not even close.
So
The grip also looks a little more positive, like it might stay in your hand better.
Right.
Well, I mean, look, the Hogue's got finger grooves in some respects, though.
Yeah.
You see underneath, like
There's
it's
another
got
wild
some
one.
finger grooves built into some of them, like that gray one right there, Tom.
This one?
Yeah.
Like look at those grooves.
I know.
So I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw the Autocrat and I was like, G10, sweet. It's going to be a cheaper alternative. And then I looked at the price. I was like, uh-huh.
This
see
is
you,
the
Benchmade.
company that sells $1,500 crooked rippers. They don't do anything cheap.
So that's another interesting Benchmade. I think we're done with Benchmade. We're gonna move on to Spyderco.
So let me talk one thing here. I am proud of them that they went with this blade profile, like the Infidel blade profile, without putting the dick groove in it. Have you guys seen the dick groove in the Infidel?
No, what's the dick groove?
No, it's balls. They're balls.
Yes.
It's not dick, it's balls. They have a nutsack down the middle, like a literal nutsack.
Yeah. You're right. And it kind of
It's a literal nutsack. Yeah, I took pictures of it at Blade Show.
It goes with the clip.
The dick
Yep.
groove.
Right there, look at it. Just a nutsack going down the middle of your fucking knife.
And what's really funny is for the fixed Infidel, they made it twice as big.
Never noticed that.
Just a nutsack. Yeah, I did selfies with it at Blade
Plain
Show.
as day, man.
I seriously feel like when they were designing this one, they're like, $400 OTF. I can't believe people are going to pay for this. How can we sneak a dick into it?
It was like the guy who was designing that knife was supposed to go on vacation that day, and they were like, "No, you need to finish this now."
Yeah.
So he was like, "I got you. Hold my beer like this."
And look,
Yes.
it's $15 cheaper than the G10 one.
It looks like a bone. Nerd.
Yeah, kind of.
What are you talking about?
A bone nerd.
Nerd?
Yes.
What's funny is, see, you guys know my channel slogan, basically, right?
Yes.
So my channel slogan basically being balls. I walked up to the Benchmade booth at Blade Show with my shirt, my T-shirt that said Buttercuts Benchmade's 3V in Georgia with balls on the back, and then took selfies with the Benchmade guys at the booth with that knife in my hand because of the nutsack. I think Benchmade has a crush on me.
Probably.
Just saying. Not saying, just saying. I think they like me.
Actually, we are not going to go to Spyderco.com. DLT has everything we need.
Boom, Spark.
I guess we don't need DLT.com. There we go.
DLT.
Yeah, wrong DLT.
Yeah,
Shout
wrong
out to
DLT.
DLT
I've
Trading.
done that a million times.
I forget there's other DLTs.
It's like, no, I don't want to make money. I want to spend money. Take me to the other
Exactly.
DLT trader.
Yeah.
By the way, DLT is a great place to shop. I
Fuck
love
yeah, it is.
Sponsor
Yep.
us.
the bomb.
The only place to shop, DLT Trading.
I
That
get
USA made blades.
I get great deals from Jason all the time.
DLT is great for buying gifts because they do that. They engrave blades. You know, a lot of places do, but they're so good and they're so quick, and they have such a huge selection of knives that they will engrave. A lot of places are like, well, you can get a 110 engraved, and
Yeah, that's true. So the Spyderco Stretch lightweight straight spine.
What is the point of this
Big.
They changed,
what is the point of this knife?
They
Thank you,
changed
thank you.
the blade. I know
So,
that.
Yeah.
now it's a PM2 with a backlock. Right?
Yes!
Yeah, now
Yeah.
it looks like now it's an Andela.
Yeah, it's,
No,
yeah, it's a-
Steve's absolutely right. They slapped the PM2 blade on a stretch handle and made it in VG10. That's
look,
it.
look, guys, look, white. Here, look, here's the light. Look at it. Look at now. Bring up the picture.
There's that. There's
Okay, now look. Come on,
They're the same.
it's the same knife.
Yeah.
So the only difference in this blade is it has a little bit more belly. The blade
Stop it.
the blade's
Stop
a little
it.
bit more
Stop
similar to the old foundry that they used to make.
Stop it.
Yeah, you're right. It does look kind of like the Foundry. You know, like I feel like this and the Indela especially, it came out. I was like, really? I mean, is that what we're gonna do now? Is split the difference?
So here's the thing about the Indela. They go, it's the difference between an Endura and a Delica. They've had that knife for years. It's called a fucking stretch. The stretch is literally between the Endura and the fucking. You hold those, they're identical. Except the stretch has better ergos because it's got that big belly on it, and it's got a better blade shape, if you ask me, because you can get your hand up on it.
I've always liked the stretch design. I like the PM2 blade shape. It's just, I don't know. I don't think that they needed to be combined. It's one of those knives that BJ and I were talking about this the other day. It's one of those knives that Spyderco's like, fuck you, we know you're going to spend the money on it because it's limited edition, so we're just going to make it.
Yeah, it's a collector's knife. It's for people who have to have every single Spyderco that comes out, or every Spyderco with FRN, or, you know, people getting their weird little collecting jags. But to me, that it's kind of it's one of those knives that, like, they could have either not put that out, or they could have not put out the Indela, but they could not help themselves. No, I'm just kidding. But it just kind of seems like
it was a money grab.
Not that interesting either. It's like not exciting.
No.
It's stupid.
I think the most exciting thing about it is the ivory FRN, the stuff that they don't really use much.
It is nice looking.
Yeah.
The FRN. It's a good color.
This is like Blade HQ's JG10. Cool, you didn't dye it. Like, okay.
Oh, I love that stuff. I'm one of the few people who thinks it looks. I love that.
The Jade.
They're Jade M4 blade.
No, it's cool. No, it's cool. What I'm saying is, like, it's just undyed. Like, it looks
right.
Like, oh, it's ivory. No, it's just undyed FRN.
Right. It's Jade. It's Jade, and we're gonna charge you extra for not dyeing it. By the way.
Pretty much.
Fucking
what do we got next, Alex?
Crew wear my Carter Shaman.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people are going to be excited about this one because a lot of us are fans of my Carter. I think it's a material that is just booming, as always, because it's got that classic feel to it. I love my Carter myself, and now the Shaman is coming in crew wear, which is pretty cool. So, I know some of you guys aren't a fan of this knife, though, but I still am. I still have my my natural D10 M4 Blade HQ version. But this is cool.
See, I think this combo is based on what the Shaman is kind of marketed as. This is the perfect combo for this knife.
It is a good combo.
Where you did a compression lock.
Yeah, except for the compression lock.
Oh.
See, I see the opposite. My card is a lot more flexible than G10. I see you start wailing on that thing. I'm wondering. I mean, I don't think somebody like me. All right, a retard like me, who's not going to stick it in a case, who's going to grab it and is going to thump on it really hard. My card tends to shift, is what I mean. Like it gives a little bit more. So I don't think if you're going to thump on a Shaman, that's the Shaman you should thump on, because you might end up getting some flex and some stuff moving. You might get pivot lash.
It's got steel liners though.
Huh?
It has steel liners.
Yeah, that are mounted to fucking my card.
What were you going to say, Bob?
I was going to ask you, who do you think this knife is for? I mean, so you have the regular Shaman, which seems to be adequate. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Steve?
I was saying who this knife applies. Who wants this knife?
Yeah.
The guys that like to like swallow Sal Glesser's dick and then grab the nuts like this. That's who gets this knife. Yes.
I think this is a working man's knife. Yeah. That's what I think this is. It's got crew wear, which is great steel. Mm-hmm. It's got that nice organic feel in the handle. I think this is a working man's knife. That's what I think it is.
And my card, it definitely does get sticky, even when it's polished. You know, when it's wet, it has that property, that mysterious property that makes it kind of grippier when wet. So I could see that being an excellent workman's knife, like you said, but it's $209. Like,
Give me
You
this.
know,
in a
are you
Mannix.
gonna bring that to the construction site?
Give me this in a Mannix, and I'd be all over it.
But then again, why not bring it to a construction site?
I would bring it to us, but he's right. A lot of people won't. Like,
Yeah.
I'll beat that thing like it owes me money. I might grab one just to break it, just to piss everybody off.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, it's got the compression lock, which makes it easy for one-handed closing.
Mhm.
I do hate the little nub that sticks out. I know everybody talks about that. I'm on the same end. You can see it right there in the
Even
picture.
on the forward end of the choil.
Yeah, I mean that's the only disappointing part. But so a lot of people complain about this. But by the time I'm swinging the blade closed, I usually have my finger off the compression lock, so it's not too big of a deal for me. It's not as big of a deal to me as it is to some other people. But I'm trying to cater to everybody else and be as objective as possible. That might be something that might annoy someone.
Mhm.
But then on the flip side, it's a big beefy blade. It's got a lot of thickness to it, to hammer. It's got a forward finger choil, so you can get on top of the blade. It's got a thumb deployment. I mean, it's a nice, good, beefy knife to beat the hell out of. I think it's a great work tool.
Yeah, it looks good too. I gotta say, I like the way the Shaman looks.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, when the Shaman first came out, I held off. I loved the knife when it first came out, but I didn't want to buy it until a Sprint Run came out, which I waited for, and then the M4 came out, and I snagged one of those from the Blade HQ thingy going on. But this Crewwear version is really, really cool. It's better looking than my Jade 10 one, I think, and the steel is probably up to par, if not, even a little bit. The Crewwear is even more stainless than M4, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's to me that's a better knife all the way around than the one that I got.
See, I think this is the best looking one. Other than that Saint Nick's one was really good looking.
Oh, the black and red.
Yeah, that was really good looking.
Yeah, I like this better actually.
Yeah.
The channel. Hey guys, Bama Knife Guy's calling me. Let's put him on blast.
Uh-oh.
Everybody, Bama
Yep.
Knife Guy. Way to interrupt everything, Bama Knife Guy.
Sorry.
That was great.
So yeah. I actually, that's probably one of my favorites out of the knives we're going to talk about tonight. I know it's $200, but for Crewwear, a big chunk of Crewwear and some good micarta. If you're looking at what you spend $200 on, I think this knife is. I mean, it's not a crazy deal, but it's a good buy. So, I approve of it.
This doesn't make a whole lot of sense compared to what we're talking about right now, but Brian asked for Steve and Gerald. He said he found Crewwear for the same price as Z-Wear for our test knives. Would you guys prefer Crewwear or Z-Wear?
Oh, they're super similar. I mean, the heat treat's going to make a bigger difference in what the difference between those two steels are. It doesn't really. I mean.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't matter either way.
You guys just pick one, damn it. Don't be a couple of women. Just pick one.
Well, what's the
Z-Wear.
difference? Yeah,
Z-Wear.
what's the difference between
I'm with Z-Wear too.
Yeah.
Okay, see where it is. Moving
Z-Wear.
right along.
Bama says, "What's up, bitches?"
Yeah, tell him to quit fucking calling me. Now he fucked up the volume on my phone.
Hey, tell him. Hey, Bama actually talks to my boss like on text message every
A
day.
lot. Yo, they're bromancing, bro.
I know they're romancing, man.
They bromance. He's been sending them all kinds of knives and shit. They're like besties, man.
Yeah, I know.
You and me are the odd man out now.
I know.
Whoa. Who's your boss, Alex?
So I got my boss into some custom knives,
Right.
like maybe
Nice.
four months ago, maybe 5 months ago. So before that, he just had like simple little Spydercos. I think he had a Spyderco chef and like a couple like cheap knives and stuff like that. So all of a sudden, I start bringing out these custom knives, and he's like, "Man," it's like, "So, I mean, what should I get?" I'm like, "Well, just go look out there." So he started getting into SOCOMs. Now he's got one of every single kind of custom SOCOM you
Is
can.
he a Cuminous Edge?
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, that makes sense.
So he
Yes,
has
that's
every
what it is.
custom SOCOM. He likes sets. I'm like, dude, are you really buying like 20 of the exact knife? Like, what is the point of that? But I guess that's his thing. He likes sets,
Yeah.
and he likes taking pictures. That's his thing.
Bam.
Yeah.
Lee says, "Fuck you, Steve. Ecumenist is my boy."
So
See, I can barely hear everybody now. Fuck you, Lee, because now I can't hear anybody because when you call, you fuck the sound on my phone, you dickhead.
so yeah, my boss now has like a tons of SOCOMs. He's got pretty much every single SOCOM there is, and now he's run out of knives to buy. Like he's like, so what do I do next? I'm like, I don't know, man. So he bought like a Hawkbill and like a couple other Microtechs, but he's Microtech all the way. Pretty funny. So
All right, what's our next
I
one?
wish my boss was into microtechs. That'd be sweet.
yeah. Well, now like he'll disappear from work. Like we work at a car dealership.
Uh-huh.
So he's the service manager. Me and my buddy are advisors. He'll disappear for like an hour because he's out in the back taking pictures of his.
Awesome.
I'm like, where the hell were you when this angry customer was here, man?
I was out taking pictures of my SOCOM, bro. Hey,
Yeah.
I have a question for you all. Have you seen the? I'm sure you have, but what do you think of the Marfione straight edge, the squared blade? Have you seen that?
Oh
No.
yes.
That is
I have seen that.
way cool. That is like, I don't know, man. That's alluring. Hopefully, the very front edge. Hopefully, it's a triple edge, is what I mean. I think that front edge, it might be like a bit of a chisel, but I think that's really cool looking knife.
That's not the one he's talking about, Tom.
Not this
That's
one.
that's the older one. Yeah, so that's more like the straight razor one. They have a new one.
Yeah, it's like double edged.
Called. It looks like a chisel.
Interesting.
God, what was the name of that thing? Go on DLT Trading. DLT's got a bunch of not DLT. Go on PVK. PVK's got a bunch of them.
YouPorn.
It's actually a pretty interesting design. I don't think it's for everybody, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, I actually think it could be a great utility knife if it, if it weren't $1,500. But like it's got the two straight edges. It's got the corners. It's got the chisel. So,
Yeah, I have that knife.
So Tom, go on the search and put Tradoon. I think it's a Tradoon size knife, if I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Come on,
Steve,
Tom.
There it is.
Steve, that's SOCOM. Oh yeah, that's gorgeous.
The hard edge. That's what
Hard edge. That's what it is.
There you go.
That's,
So that's
The
pretty.
fuck is that? A razor?
it has 3 cutting
It's
edges.
kind of like a razor. Yeah,
Yeah, it actually does.
three edges. It's got that deep fuller on the back. It's kind of a chisel grind. It's pretty cool looking.
I'm gonna send this to you, Steve, to sharpen for me.
I'll do it. I bet y'all sharpen that thing better than your fucking wicked edge. I'll tell you that. Bet y'all make
Okay.
that thing scream.
What's going on with the back though?
Glass breaker, bro. Operator. You don't know anything about that. Keep moving.
Close that window and roll and scroll down.
Lee, if you're listening to this, can you call my phone again so the fucking volume will come back? I can't hear shit.
He's listening.
Why don't you hop in and hop out? So there you go.
I can't. I can't. Tom will have to
I'll send you
Call
another
me.
invite.
So that's what the backside of it looks
That's
like.
gorgeous.
I actually think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine if you were a carpenter. Like that would be the coolest carpenter's knife ever.
Yeah.
It's not his normal like super tactical.
No, like you be scraping the stucco off the walls and everything.
Yeah.
You know?
tactical drywall.
Yeah, because I'm gonna do that
Yes.
for $1,300.
Yeah, I mean, but it is very cool. I'm glad you brought that one up.
That one's
I'll
neat.
take 2. Thank you.
Yeah,
For the low price of $1,300.
that's right. That is a cool knife.
If you're buying 2, buy me one too.
All right. I'll just throw it on.
Put it on my tab.
So the next knife model we got is the Siren, which Tom already knows. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go on this one. I'll be right back.
So this one was made to be. I don't know if you guys are on the Spyderco forums very much at all. Lance Clinton is one of the most active members there. He designed the Waterworks or Waterway.
That's a fixed blade, right?
Yep, he designed that for him this year, and this is another one of his designs. He does a lot of kayak fishing.
Okay.
And he's been
Is
really instrumental in getting LC200N tested and stuff for him. Like Sal sent him prototypes and everything when they were first working with that steel. So this is one of his knives that he's made to be a like a folding fishing knife.
Mm-hmm. So you said that's LC200N?
Yes. So it's got the wire clip. They went with like a really coarse G10, more coarse than like what a PM2 would be. So if your hands are wet, it's grippier.
Right.
I never noticed this detail before, but all the blue liners in there is pretty darn cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
Just a nice little touch of color.
I'll go ahead and say this year I haven't bought very many knives. This is one I'm probably going to buy.
Really?
Why?
I kind of like the Waterway, but I don't want a big fixed blade like this. And something like this, I like backlocks. It looks like it's going to be nice and comfortable to use. The blade shape looks killer. For a utility standpoint, well, for me, for a utility, because I don't do a ton of fishing anymore, but just from a utility standpoint, that's something I know if I bought it, I'd use it a lot.
Yeah.
And for fishing, it seems like that little finger guard up front is a good idea. You're thrusting that into the belly of a fish. It's tougher than you expect, or your knife is duller than you think, and your hands are wet. It's slimy from fish. It stops your hand from going up. I like the look of the handle, I gotta say.
I think my favorite thing about it is the closed overall profile. It's very slim, unlike a lot of Spydercos.
Yeah.
That is a cool knife. The only thing I don't like about it is that because of that little hook where your hand kind of is in there, it's only going to be locked in one position.
Right.
So it doesn't give you the advantage of kind of choking up on it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Even with knives, you don't really have a front finger choil. Like the EX01 is a perfect example. With a little bit of flats on the front, you can kind of choke up a little more forward on the blade.
I was just going to say that with that, it kind of forces your hand to be kind of far away from the blade.
Yeah.
But it is a really good looking knife. And I was telling Tom last night, I think, man, in my more knife immature days, I wanted the coolest flipper and all the bearings, but I really appreciate a lockback these days. I think a lockback's a great lock.
Lee says it looks like every other fucking Spyderco made. G wants it because he's gay.
Well, they definitely have a strong design language, that's for sure. There's no mistaking a Spyderco.
Strong design language. I like that.
I think it's cool. I like it. I dig it.
Yeah, looks good. What we got for 3.6-inch blade. So
I love the idea
size.
of LC200N too, I gotta say.
It's a good steel. I like it.
Yeah, so I mean that's gonna be a perfect fisherman's knife too.
Yeah. And the
You
price
think-
isn't crazy.
No, I think that's a great knife.
It's in line for what it is.
That's the same cost as the Native Chief.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's next,
You ready
Alex?
for the next one?
Yes,
Now we're gonna ramp up to kind of the more mid-end stuff. I got one more that's kind of a good kind of well-priced knife, and
What about the other Spyderco fixed blade?
nah, we're not gonna talk about that.
Let me mention it, the name to Steve, and let's see how much he yells. You ready, Steve? Do I have to yell for you?
No, the volume on my phone is shot.
It sounds like you're yelling at me from a cave.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what?
you sound weird now too.
No, you know what? It's good. We need to quiet Steve down once. He needs to sign in and sign out. Oh, he's gone.
Oh, did he leave?
Yeah, he's probably signing in, signing back out.
Okay, cool. So
It's not that knife's not even that important, Tom.
Okay.
Okay, so I really love this company, BRS Knives. If you're into I love BRS, and they have their import version, which I'm going to be talking about an import one, the Evolve Nomad. I think this is a freaking awesome looking knife.
Definitely, that looks cool.
Oh
This is
yeah,
very-
that looks like. Is that from Nova Knives? That looks like custom. It kind of looks like a Nova knife. The blade.
You took that right out of my mouth. It does look like a Nova. It looks like a Nova mutt.
With custom knife maker Steve Doomkus at Nova Blades.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is an import knife, but it's $150,
Whoa.
Did
and
Steve join
it's
back
a
yet?
whole lot of knife for $150.
Let me see if I can add. Let me add Steve again. He just messaged me and said, "Call me in, bitch."
Oh, Steve.
Gotta love him or hate him.
I still love what the Knife Nut podcast said about him. You know, knife man yells at other knife man.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That was freaking awesome, man. I love that. He's knife man yells at other man.
Yeah.
The knife that yells at other knife men has returned.
Yes, guy that yells at knife guy right here.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve.
So
Hey.
Counter puppy.
Oh God, that's not a counter puppy.
No, I was saying that would get some reaction from you. We don't need to
Oh,
talk
fuck
about it
that
though.
fucking stupid.
Let's
Fuck
not.
that, dude. It's so fucking. The entire Spider Co kitchen knife series is fucking retarded.
Okay, there we go. That's all you need to know about it. Next.
So,
Go back.
so this is an import line BRS knife, and I think they take a lot of care and do a lot of. They spend a lot of time on their import designs, even though they don't make them themselves, like the Bali songs.
Yeah.
But this knife really caught my attention. I mean, it's got a pivot collar. It's really got the minimal amount of screws exposed. It's just a very nice minimalist kind of design, but looks very tactical, which I know Bob loves, and I do.
I do. Yeah. I like the aggressive tanto point.
They stole
And
Marco's camo G10.
Well, I actually like that camo and black blade.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah, I
good.
do too.
That looks nice.
So really good job to BRS because they did a couple other import lines like the Nomad and stuff, which were kind of cool knives, but they weren't my flavor. But this I like. It's a very, very nice looking knife, and it looks high quality. From what I've heard, their Evolve line is really good quality and fit and finish for what you pay.
Do you know who makes them?
They don't tell you. They don't say. They
And
won't
do you-
tell you who manufactures them.
It's a
So-
mixture of manufacturers.
What's the blade
they-
length on that?
2,
Let's take a look.
3 1/4.
Perfect.
Good size.
And the hollow grind, you know, I mean, it's pretty damn cool.
What else we got?
So next, okay, I always like to pick a funny knife. All right, so on this one, we're gonna go with
Go across Crooked River. Funny night.
no. I got funnier than that, and this pertains to my lovely state of California.
Oh, here we go.
Protec Whiskers CA legal. Oh, you can already see it right there. Oh,
That's beautiful.
Can't see it.
come on.
Oh man, it reminds me of the Blade HQ April Fool's XXL Espada. Yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
The
it
blade
kind of looks ridiculous.
wait.
handle was this big. There you
Have you
go.
guys
Yeah.
seen this? Have you guys seen this?
Oh, the half breed. But that's a real knife too, buddy.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Have you guys seen the half breed?
Yes, the half breed.
That just makes me itch. You know, any blade to handle ratio that's that off, because I'm not as much of a user as I am an aesthete. You know, I look at him like that knife is not cool. How could it be good? Obviously, it's Microtech and the blade is probably awesome and it probably feels great and shoots out awesome, but something about it just makes me angry.
Yeah, no, it's like when a chick goes out to dinner with this big buff dude, and then they get into the sack, and then this little thing. It's as disappointing as that, That's
Yeah, it's kind of.
I feel like you've gone home with a lot of buff guys that were not really packing. Is that what happened?
I have, and this is what happens, you know.
Scarred.
So I mean, God, I mean, it's just at this point, why just not make it at all? I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, don't they make this knife with a smaller handle also? The whiskers doesn't that also
No, they make the exact same knife with a larger blade.
larger blade? Duh. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, just
so-
make the handle smaller. You know, it's a cool mechanism. I like that bolster sliding release or whatever they call it. It's a cool mechanism, but
It's super cool.
yeah, I
But-
love Protec.
But that little tiny chubby blade, I mean, come on, guys. Like,
Yeah.
this is wrong.
This-
Stop it already.
Every single time a company makes a California legal automatic, it's like pounding a square peg into a round hole. Like, just stop. Like, they don't. Stop. Just
Yeah.
don't do it anymore. You can't, stop. No more automatics in California. The law is stupid. That's it. Give up. Call it a day. Let them use regular knives. Who gives a shit? Like,
Yeah.
what would you rather carry? That automatic, right, with the whiskers, with the 1.5 inch fucking chode blade, or like a regular ass Sabenza, right? Like, what would you rather?
And that's what's the funny part is I can carry this little automatic right here around, you know, or I can put an Emerson with an Emerson Wave, which will deploy even faster.
Exactly. It's
And
4 inches long.
So yeah, I don't.
That's just
I don't
ridiculous.
know, guys.
Those are all old. Those are all old laws, man. From like West Side Story when that came out, and Rebel Without a Cause. James Dean. Look at that knife. You know, let's ban them for the next 75 years. It makes no sense, but let's do it anyway. Okay.
Yep.
That's
So
just, I feel bad for California. I'm sorry y'all can't have OTFs above whatever 7 microns large or whatever the fuck the law is. But like, stop trying to make out the front autos that are Cali legal. Like, let it go. It's over.
You know what a Virginia legal auto looks like? Like nothing, because you can't have them here, which is
You can have them. There you go. That's it.
Hey.
it's crazy.
Look at that
That's
thing.
like-
Look at that show.
That's like the same thing. Not having them legal at all and have them legal under 2 inches.
Yeah, it's the same fucking. Yes, right. It's the same.
Like I can't. I don't even know if I could cut a box open with that thing. I mean, all right. Let's move right along.
We have another one.
Yeah, Custom Knife Factory T14. So this is pretty cool. I actually, I thought this was a pretty interesting knife to talk about. Kind of reminds me of their Decepticon designs. Don't let the Russia knives thing fool you because they do get their parts from China.
Yes.
But they're wide open about it. They're not like hiding anything about that whatsoever.
Do they assemble them in Russia? Is that how that
Sure
works?
do. Yeah, they're all finished and assembled in Russia.
Oh, okay.
But they do outsource a lot of parts from Chinese manufacturers. But I thought this was pretty cool. It's got a lot of interesting lines, and it looks like a very usable blade. A lot of different little. It looks almost like a whole bunch of little different pieces put together,
Oh yeah.
which is pretty cool. The pivot, interesting.
That blade is really cool.
Yeah.
It's
familiar but different. Yeah.
Yep.
That
Exactly.
pivot collar looks super cool. Like it's almost like radius on every side.
Yep.
That's cool. It looks like an O-ring.
Yep.
I have never hefted a custom knife factory knife.
They're very nice.
I gotta say, the one that really turns me on when I see it is the one that's got the nail neck. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a clip point blade. It's got a nail neck. It is so cool looking.
Yes, that is a very cool knife. I've gotten to handle one of those before. My favorite, I've sold all my custom knife factory knives I've had except for one. And my favorite is a 4.3-inch blade one. It's called the Sablia. And for those of you who don't know, Sablia in Russian means saber or sword. It's a big freaking monster. And that was a Persian design blade of M390, which they did a hand rub satin on it. That knife is still by far my favorite custom knife factory knife ever made. But they're working with big makers now, like Philippe Georget is another huge custom knife maker out on the market right now.
Did you see the one they're doing with Rotten Design?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And all the custom knife makers that they work with, everybody says that Custom Knife Factory has impeccable fit and finish. I mean, they almost outdo like some of the custom knife makers' knives alone, which is pretty interesting. Even Philippe Georget, who's a perfectionist, who makes handmade custom knives from France, his knives are north of $2,000 all the time, and that's if you can even get your hands on one. Was very impressed with his collaboration with, which is the Fit 20.
Oh yeah.
Or Fit 23. The Fit 20 is coming, but the Fit 23 is a Philippe Georget. That's really badass.
That's the Rotten Design one they're doing.
Yeah, that is really cool.
That is super cool. I like that a lot.
Gotta say, it's got an echo of Strider, but it's really cool.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. It looks like a beefier, like crazier Strider.
I love that blade. Holy mackerel, that is cool. Oh,
Yeah.
is all that belly.
Yeah, that is
And that
really
contour titanium.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, yeah.
Yep, that is beautiful.
I want that one.
Yeah, that one's pretty compelling.
Yeah, if I was buying a CKF, it would be that one.
As soon as I saw that on Instagram the other day, I'm like, holy shit.
Wow. It looks like when you're gripping that, it's got a really aggressive blade forward kind of angle. You know, it looks like it's really going to be a good working knife. You know.
Yep, a lot of belly.
Yeah.
That's gonna be badass.
And you're not going to be rubbing your knuckles on the surface.
Yeah. Right.
Same with this T14 though. This T14's badass.
Yeah, the T14 was pretty cool. It looks a lot like this guy Alexis Designs that he usually releases. But I just thought this was a super cool, very intricate looking knife.
Yeah.
They do an awesome job of copying the actual customs.
Yeah, they do. They do. Put in the Sablia just to show.
How do I spell it?
SY.
Excuse me, guys. 1 sec.
Yeah.
Yep. BL. Yeah, there you go. I think that's kind of how it's spelled. Or no, maybe it's SA. I don't know how to spell Russian, man.
There it is.
There it is. There it is. That is a badass knife.
Jesus.
I still have mine.
It's a pocket sword.
Yep. So I was like a huge fan of the Riot Future. That was a knife that I really liked. And the thing that was really getting me about that knife was the way the flipper was designed on it. But holy crap, this took all the need for that away.
Yeah, this kind of has the same feel to it, kind of.
It does. And then if you see it in the closed, which I don't know if they have a picture of it closed.
Yeah, nice.
Right? Like, look at that flipper, man.
Perfect.
That flipper is badass.
What is that?
That is the Sablia I was talking about. The only CKF I still own.
Do you have a shot of it? Oh, that. Yes, I've seen that.
That is a sweet, sweet, sweet knife. It is a guillotine when it shuts. Go back another picture, Tom. I think there's one with somebody holding one. It's a freaking... Look at that. That thing is a monster.
Mackerel. What is that, 4.5 inches?
4.3. It's a big piece of M390. And you can even see the hand rub satin finish on it. It's really nice.
Yeah. It's got an interesting spine. I mean, the contour on the back of the blade is very interesting. It's got a couple of dips and swales there.
Yep. And then you can even see the carbon fiber on the lock side is actually a over travel stop for the lock bar.
It almost looks like a bolster lock, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way that it functions.
Very, very cool. Very nicely designed knife. Big fan of that.
Yeah, that's nice.
You guys ready to go on the last 3
Yep.
customs?
Yep. Let's go
Yeah.
for it.
All right. We're going to look at the Herucus Blumeris LL15. This is a knife that's been on my radar for quite a while.
I was just looking at this today.
I've never heard of this maker.
He's awesome.
He's from South Africa.
Oh, okay.
He's in the Knife Makers Guild. He's freaking awesome. I was actually looking at buying that exact one with the micarta. Look at that. That is beautiful. So he likes to engrave the bolsters quite a bit.
Yeah, that's. So these knives, just at a glance from that last shot with all the thumbnails, does something I really like, which is I love modern designs with older materials. Like, you see a Lightfoot knife with mammoth ivory on it. So it's got like this modern, it's in a modern context, but you got this old, like these woods here on these handles.
Like
It's
that.
just
That poplar burl is really cool.
Well, South African knife makers are big on that. They use a lot of old vintage material. That one all the way on the end was one I was actually almost considering buying, which has original Westinghouse micarta on it.
Oh wow!
And it's got Chad Nichols Damascus bolsters and blade, which is pretty cool.
The prices aren't crazy either.
No, I mean,
wow, that's unusual. Yeah.
That's a full custom knife, guys.
Hey, guess what? That's more than or less than half the price of that Gold Class Crooked River.
And they're shipping it from damn South Africa, man.
Right. And now these can get a little bit. There's the one I was looking at.
Whoa, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Look at that Damascus on the blade. That is beautiful.
Yep, all Chad Nichols Damascus. I may still buy it. I mean, this thing's been sitting in that blade gallery for a while. I'm hoping I can land it for 1,000. I don't know.
So does that work? I always think like maybe if it sits around long enough, they'll be like, let's just get rid of it. But have you ever with these higher end knives? I don't have much experience with these knives. Well, I have no experience with higher end knives like this. When you go to these purveyors, is there any of that sort of like, well, I can give you $1,000 for that $1,100 knife? Is that something that they go for?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they definitely do. It just all depends, like, I know Blade Gallery. I've worked with them on about like 4 or 5 knives already I've bought from them. And they're pretty, I've gotten like $20 or $30 off. I'm like, hey, dude, like I'm here for the second time this month, and I'm spending another like 1,000.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro, give me something.
Yeah. So give me a free dessert or a coffee or something. Jeez, throw me a bone.
Right, and it doesn't even have to be a lot. Just made me feel good about coming back.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten a little bit. I've seen my boss, who's Mr. SOCOM, lover. He went to PBK and bought 2 SOCOMs and got like $400 or $500 off of a pair. But those were all like $1,200, $1,300 knives. So,
Right. So it didn't even eat into their profit, I'm sure.
Right. So it just all depends. DLT trading, like sometimes Jason gives me a good deal. Obviously, I can't say it on the podcast, but he takes care of me because I've been coming to him for years and years and years. So, it just all depends. I think if you build a relationship with these guys, they can come out with like coupons or build like those coupon, like you fill in at the very end kind of thing.
Yeah.
Give you 10% off or whatever. But I'm not one to ask for discounts too often anyways, but sometimes I say, hey, give me something. I don't care what it is. Just make me feel like I got a deal. Whatever.
Yeah.
So
make me feel like I didn't just blow everything.
Right, exactly. So now if I like Blade Gallery, I bought like 4 knives, fairly expensive ones in the last couple months. I got that Brian Ty full custom. I got a couple things from him. So I want a bone. Throw me a bone on my 3rd or 4th knife. I appreciate that.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, but I really like the lines on this particular flipper that he made. I think he did a really good job. That's one of my favorites from his line.
That plunge grind is very appealing. I'm a sucker for that
Yep.
That look.
Definitely, and I like how the edge kind of follows the flipper. You know, like it's very nice and smooth and fluid, and the rest of the handles is just kind of nice and softly rounded to it. It's just a very aesthetically pleasing kind of knife to me.
It is, and it has a great handle to blade ratio, which is important to me.
Absolutely. Now, what's interesting to me is how do you to take this thing apart is pretty interesting because I don't see any screws at all.
Well,
oh, there it is.
Yeah.
It's like the tiniest screw in the world.
4.
You take a bolster and the pivot screw is going to be behind there.
Yeah.
Right. All the real taking it apart is beneath the surface, right? You take those off, and you still have the rest of the knife to disassemble, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that my card? What is that?
What size screws are those? T2?
Yes. Precisely.
So that is Westinghouse micarta, legit.
So what's the deal with Westinghouse micarta? Is there just a stash of old ass micarta that still hasn't run dry, or what's the deal with that?
So great question. I'm going to tell you the answer because I've talked to a lot of makers. Half of that shit's fake.
Yeah, they just yellow it, right?
Yeah, half of it's just, like micarta that people have made to replicate to look like it.
Okay.
They may advertise it like it's real Westinghouse. Who knows?
But when they were making real Westinghouse micarta, that was for countertops and stuff, right? Like that wasn't a knife handle thing then, was it?
No, you're correct.
The description
for like electronics and things like that.
The description of this says this micarta was developed in 1910 by Westinghouse Electrical Corporation as an industrial thermoset laminate for electrical installation. This light tone micarta was lost in a warehouse and only recently discovered.
Yeah, right.
That is hell of a story.
It was found. It was found in that warehouse where they keep the Ark.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it was sitting right next to the Holy Grail.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have handled the one that has legit like Westinghouse micarta, and you can kind of tell because it's a little bit more grainy than regular micarta, and it's usually got like the core of it's got a little bit more of a darker color to it, whereas as you can see, this one's kind of it looks like ivory micarta to me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to tell, but yeah, half of the stuff out there is fake and advertises real, and some of it's legit. The legit stuff is fairly expensive. I want to say to make like maybe a couple knives, you could be spending like $150 on material to make a couple knives, with that legit scale stuff.
Right.
And it's from people like kind of trash digging and finding different like stuff. So that's the best answer I could give you. But it looks, it's so cool.
Yes, it is.
What else we got, Alex?
Actually, this is the last one I got.
Cool.
The Brian Tie down. I love Brian Ty. He's always got these. By the way, you should see if you could interview that guy.
I have an email out to him.
Brian Ty is so cool. He seems like a little bit of a interesting character. I would love to hear him speak on your podcast.
I agree. I think he just from his names, Tie Stick, Tie Down, Tie whatever. Yeah, he seems like an interesting dude for sure, and his knives are pretty cool looking. I gotta say,
very, very cool.
That's freaking gorgeous.
Yep. So that is a complete integral carbon fiber frame with a button lock. Very, very, very cool.
I love how that button lock kind of pops over onto the pivot a little bit. That's such a cool detail.
Yep.
That is.
Brian Ty is good to go. I mean, for custom knife makers, he's representing Canada very well.
So
he
Brian,
has the
Indian
Grimsmo,
black magic.
he has the Grimsmo magic. Yep.
so Brian Ty and Friends, does that mean that's his kind of mid-tech line, right?
That is kind of a mid-tech / production line.
It's kind of a funny name. Brian Ty and Friends.
It is very funny. And you can tell the difference when you handle a Brian Ty and Friends versus like a full custom from Brian Ty. There's a difference, but the Brian Ty and Friends are very good quality. I gotta admit, they felt very good. You know, it almost kind of felt like a Hogue, like in quality, as far as the pivot action and everything. The custom is I just got my first TIE fighter was a couple months back, maybe 3-4 months ago, and I was really impressed with it. I loved it. It's got a very nice. His blade finishes are really good. All the tolerances and everything were really nice. It does feel a little bit strange with the detent setup, the way it works with his button lock system. It flips different than regular knives, for sure. So I don't know how to explain it, but it does feel a little bit different.
That's wicked looking. Jesus.
Yeah, the backside of the blade the backside of the handle just looks awesome. That spine.
Scoop that then just kind of transitions into the lanyard hole. Oh,
Yeah, it goes from convex to concave by the time it gets to the back.
Oh.
That is really cool. And you know what? I'm not really into fancy clips, but that is a cool fancy clip.
That is a cool clip. He's
And
very
the
good with clip.
machining on the actual sides of the handle. Oh man,
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That's really cool.
it's like a lightning bolt looking clip.
Yep.
Kinda.
It's very, very cool. And, the compound grind on the blade, that's not always like a thing for me. I have a couple of knives like that, but I think he does them like almost the best out of anybody.
I can appreciate how hard this probably was to hand rub where those two grinds transition to each other.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Jeez.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of sweat.
Yep. Yep.
That's nice.
So on a compound ground blade like that, what do you want? Do you want it thinner towards the tip and fatter towards the pivot, or vice versa?
I feel like I'd like it vice versa.
I like it like
I
this.
feel like that intuitively too.
I like it like this because I think if you're going to do any kind of piercing, you want a thinner edge. And then if you're going to do any kind of like shaving or carving, you want that harder edge.
That's true. See, I think about it in a different way. I think if you're going to do any prying, it should be thicker out towards the tip, and then any real cutting should be a little bit thinner back towards the back. I don't know. I can see it both ways.
Tomato.
Well, obviously, at some point you're going to have to push this through Kevlar. So really, it should be.
Do you have any idea how hard a zombie skull is to penetrate?
Yeah, for
like
real.
that thin ass fucking grind, it's just gonna snap right off, and then you're stuck with half a knife, and a zombie's still pissed off. So
Finally, someone understands.
think your head, Alex. Operator, bro. Operator.
Oh, yes, the operator. All right, guys.
Oh my God. How you gonna stab someone to death with a level 3 Kevlar vest with that compound grind? I mean, come on.
We've all run into that before. It's just
Knife fighting is a real thing. It happens to me on a weekly basis. I knife fight at least a weekly basis, and I use for those who are curious, I do use my pocket knives, my 3.5-inch pocket knives to duel to the death.
for the various duels. Well, you're in fantastic shape for a man who duels once a week, I got to say.
It happens a lot. It keeps you young. The near-death experience. It keeps you young.
It's the beard that distracts people from hitting anything vital.
They aim here, and then I dive, shake, up stab. I usually carry 2.
That seems like a sound technique.
I got a lot of bodies on this Victorinox right here. A lot of bodies on this side. This is the one. Yeah, you laugh, but this is the one they don't expect. They sit there and they see the big old Microtech and like, he's gonna get me. And then I come over the top.
And then you get him with a sleeper. Yeah.
Yeah, with the sleeper right there, and then that's it. It's carotid artery, night termite. Steve wins. Clean it up.
I think it's time to do the interview.
No, we're gonna interview Bob. We're being nicer to our guest, Steve.
I thought I already got the job.
Good job.
Oh, before you start, Alex, and maybe you can tell me if you got the question in there. What I'd like to ask Bob is, with all these people, these different knife makers that he's had on his podcast, has that changed the way you collect and how you look at buying knives?
Yes, it has, like 100%. It hasn't necessarily changed. It hasn't changed my appetite. Like, I still love everything from the cheap Tangrams to hinderers. And want to go custom. I have one custom knife now from a guy I interviewed, Douglas Esposito, attention to detail mercantile. He makes these cool kind of gentleman fighter knives, and I'm a sucker for him. And I had him on the podcast, and he happens to live close to where I live. He's got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu studio, and he's got his knife shop in the back. And I went to visit him when I picked up my knife, and even just that experience of picking up the knife from him and seeing his shop and getting to meet him and hang out for an hour and look at his other work, it caused a slight shift inside. It doesn't make me love production knives any less, but it made me realize, like, I've been intimidated by custom knives just because of the cost and like sometimes I suffer from quantity over quality, and it's sort of shifted that. Here's a good example also. I was never a big fan of Greg Medford's designs, but I always had massive respect for what I knew those knives to be. And then I talked to him, and man, he's got an interesting perspective. He comes at it very differently. And it really, after I was done talking, I was like, okay, I got to get my hands on a Medford because, the look of them have grown on me over the years. But just talking with him and knowing what goes into making each one of them, it impressed me. And now I want a Medford, whereas I didn't before necessarily.
Very cool.
Get a Medford, they're badass.
Yeah, like the Praetorian. I mean, yes, the Praetorian, but that is just a really cool knife, and then down the list.
I picked up a Smooth Criminal about a month ago, and it's a great knife.
That's the one, Smooth Criminal. That is a cool, yes. Sorry if I overuse the word cool.
It's a dope knife. It's the machining on those knives and the tolerances, and it's really impressive. It really is.
And then Gerald, your question, the answer is yes. Like, talking to now everyone I talk to, I want something of theirs, and obviously that's not going to be tenable. But also people I've interviewed that I might want to get rid of. Like, I might be looking to get rid of a knife, and then I talk to them, and then to remember that I talked to them, I must always keep this knife. So I get very attached,
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Your wallet probably hates you.
What's that?
Your wallet hates you.
Yes. Yes. So does my wife. No, I'm just kidding. She loves me.
But he was on the show. I can't sell it now.
Yeah. This is it's all building up for the future here, baby.
Yep, it is always for the future. Always. One day.
Yes.
So, Bob,
Yeah.
What got you into knives, and how long have you been into them for?
Yeah, I've been into knives forever. I have an older brother, and I had a grandfather. I think most people who know their grandfathers have been introduced to knives to them. So it was really my brother and my grandfather. My grandfather passed down a bunch of old pocket knives to us, like case knives and stuff like that. And then my brother, I remember very clearly when we were little, he had the coolest plastic toy knife. I was born in the early 70s, and in the 70s on TV, everyone had a knife on their belt. Grizzly Adams, all those guys, Daniel Boone, at least the stuff I was allowed to watch. And to me, like, it was my brother, my grandfather, and all these people on TV carrying knives. I'm like, that's what a man does, right? He has a knife on his belt at all times. And then
whiskeys and knives. Woo!
Yeah. And then the 80s, it was Rambo and Commando and Predator. Those three movies, kept me locked in, and that's when I got into the big tactical fighting knives and that kind of thing. And then I got in 1988, I got a Cold Steel Tanto, the 6-inch Tanto, the one that started it all. it's been by my bed ever since. And yeah, and then 10 years later, I guess 1998 or so, living in New York City, I went to visit Anderson's Martial Arts. It's a great Jeet Kune Do, Kali, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu place. And I saw a knife sparring session. I was like, what? People do this? And that was the thing. That kept me locked in.
Well, that brings me to my next question is, so I know you're into knife fighting martial arts. What is your martial arts experience that we hear about?
So it was a few years of Kempo karate starting in 1995, and then about 10 years of Jeet Kune Do in New York, and then I moved to Northern Virginia and kept that going here. And then I'd say in the last year or so, or year and a half or so, it's trailed off, at least my consistent training. But I try and keep that stuff in the veins, and I practice it. But I'm not going out and getting in duels. And I've only used martial arts once, and it certainly did not involve a knife, thank God. So really, a lot of it is just maintaining the skills I already have, and just I think sometimes I'm like, what if I really actually had to use any of this stuff for real? Like, how would I fare? I'm not a tough guy. I didn't grow up fighting in the streets, And then I always come to the conclusion, well, I'm better off than if I hadn't trained it. At least I know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question.
Well, yeah.
How many people have you killed with knives?
You lose count after the first 5 or 6, because if you keep counting, it'll bring you down, man. So
yeah, I think the same way.
Yeah. First one's really hard, second one's hard, and third one gets better.
It's like when you take shots of really strong whiskey. The first one really hurts, and then it gets easier and easier as it goes.
Yep.
You just gotta forget about
Right.
it.
Well, Alex, recently I've shown off like with this axe with the tomahawk video from Hogue. I showed off different techniques that I think someone, like I have a lot of buddies who are actually really awesome at this stuff. And if I gave them a tomahawk and they actually had to go into battle with it, they could do X, Y, and Z. And I realize it looks like, oh, look at me, I'm flipping around a knife, aren't I cool? But
we call that operator here, Bob.
Operator, yeah. Operator on video. I'm like, what would you do if I came at you with this?
I think it's cool because you actually do know what you're doing with it, and I can tell because I'm an operator. A Marine veteran right here. So.
Yeah, well, you're a Marine, right? Or a former Marine? Yeah.
Yes, I am. So I think it's cool. I mean, you can tell when somebody's showing off, and you can tell when somebody's just enthusiastic about what they got and having fun with it. I love it.
That's pretty much what it is. And I do this I have my early morning ritual. I get up before the whole house, Monday through Friday. And, I've been listening a lot to the new Tool album. So that's it right now. So it's Tool and a little bit of like Knife in the morning. And it makes me feel like, invincible. You probably know the reference if you know the Tool album.
Yeah.
But I'm just, it's just something to keep me active because I've never been much of a sports guy. Yeah.
That's awesome. So my next question to you is, how does your wife deal with your hobby? Do you ship knives to work?
Yes to the second part of the question. The first part of the question is, luckily I met my wife in one of those knife sparring classes. So she gets it. She's not as materialistic about it, but she is understanding of it, which is, a godsend, because not everyone would be, You
met your wife in a knife fighting class?
Yes, and I also like knowing, because she's feisty and she's done a lot of martial arts in her life, and we actually met at Anderson's Martial Arts in New York, and it was during a knife sparring class, and I got, I got paired up with her. Hi, how are you? And it It's cool, and it's always been great knowing that, if my wife and I go into a bar or a restaurant and it just goes down while we're there, we can go back to back and knife fight our way out of the place.
Is she better at it than you are?
Well, she's feistier, so it's all an intent, and her intent is
question. How many people has your wife killed with a knife?
We keep that tally from each other because could spoil things.
I feel like it'd get kind of emasculating if she killed so many more than you.
Well, I feel like with Bob and his wife, it's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, right? Like you guys, like you start talking body counts, and it gets kind of like you got to kind of bow up and times it by 3 because you don't want her to out kill you.
Oh, she's 100% tougher than I am. Luckily, I'm larger, so
sheer intimidation factor.
Oh, this is perfect. It leads me to the next question. Do you carry as many knives as Lynn Thompson?
Does anybody? Is that
Oh, the guy who pulls out a Bowie out of his underwear and pulls out a knife.
He keeps a Recon 1 tucked between his butt cheeks, dude. That guy's got more knives.
He's person.
Yeah. You look up his stack, there's probably a mini Recon.
Right. Oh man. Yes, my yes, but not as extreme. I usually have 3 knives on me, and the main character is my front right hand pocket, and that's whatever, like this kind of knife I feel like carrying, folding, tactical in my sort of wheelhouse knife, and then I always have something I can loan to people at work to cut their sandwiches or peel their apples or whatever. That's usually like a Great Eastern cutlery or some sort of non-offensive slip joint. And then I always keep something in my waistband in case I end up in Baltimore and find myself on the ground getting kicked to death. So I can whip that out in a last-ditch effort to save my life and slash some ankles. So
and slash the Achilles tendon, right?
Exactly. I something about folding knives, like I was talking about Predator and Commando and Rambo, and those movies left a big impression in terms of my appetite for knives. But also in many movies, you'll find that a small folding knife saves the day. It happens a lot.
Fucking MacGyver, man. That guy, what was that? What even did he have? But he would take that, chewing gum, and a paper clip, and then defuse a fucking nuclear bomb, man.
Yep. With a Swiss Army knife, man. Yeah, so I'm a 3-knife usually, a 3-knife guy.
Okay, so then that leads me to the next one. What is your favorite EDC, and do you rotate or do you carry something pretty much all the time, most of the time?
No, I rotate. Well, my in the waistband knife is either my Benchmade bug out with the Alan Putnam micarta scales, or a pink cold steel broken skull with the wave on it, with the snaggletooth MF. So that's like you just pull it out and it opens up.
Because I'm a follower, I knew that.
I actually knew it.
And then I always have one, around my neck under my work ID, and then so those are pretty consistent. But my main knives, I rotate every day, like my front pocket knives, just because I like the variety. I have a bunch of them, and I feel like if I were to carry one every day, then every day I carried the same knife over and over. It means all the other ones are worth less and less. So I gotta keep rotating through them. Plus, I don't want them to get angry at me.
Exactly. I was gonna say you don't want to get pissed off and start a mutiny in your box.
Yeah.
Bad for business.
All right. So, who is an inspiration for you in the community? Whether it's a podcast, other guy, or a maker, a YouTuber, who have you found as an inspiration to you?
I've really enjoyed talking to the knife makers because and I'll hone it down from there. But as someone who went through art school and is kind of just my natural propensity is creativity and stuff like that. I feel like when I talk to knife makers, I understand them, even though I don't understand knife making that well. I feel like that creative force, that creative desire to keep kind of improving on what you've done is a universal, and I feel like I can connect. I can connect with that. So recently, and this is not to exclude anyone else, but I recently spoke with Greg Lightfoot, and you know, he had a couple of really interesting things to say. You know, like general kind of Zen things, like create the kind of life you don't need a vacation from, and I thought that was cool. But he lives up in Canada, in the Canadian Rockies. He has a giant sprawling ranch. He works part of the day making these beautiful knives, and then the rest of the day he goes out hunting or fishing or just wandering his property. And as a far off inspiration to me, that's the kind of or your retirement. Let's say that's the kind of retirement I'd love to have. You know, find a place like that, be able to be creative and hopefully make knives, but kind of be out there and have all of that space.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, I really liked your interview with that guy, and he's a pretty cool dude. I got a lot from that interview when you interviewed him. He seems like he definitely is very down to earth, and sounds like he's got his routine down exactly the way he likes it. Yeah, exactly. And he's open-minded enough to bring other people into the operation, and you know, so that's pretty cool. And actually, talking to Greg Medford, it was also inspiring, but on a different level. He's a go-getter, you know. He's like, I decided to make knives, so the next day I went out and bought a factory. I was like,
all right, sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's drive. That's drive, and that's vision in a way that's inspiring for me, because that's not my natural. You know, I'm much more of a let's hand wring for the next 5 years before we actually do this, and I like hearing that someone just has that initiative. Very cool. Do you ever plan to make knives or take classes to make knives? Yes. Like I said, I've noodled around with making knives in my shed, and I've made a couple of really nice ones. And unfortunately, I don't have them because they were so nice because people asked me to make them for them. You know, the ones I make for myself, you know, well, anyway, I can only hold myself to one creative sort of extracurricular activity. And right now it's been the podcast. So I've veered away from making knives, but I have books full of designs, and I would definitely love to have some of my knives made. And then in the future, really hunker down, get a space, get some tools, because in the limited time I've allowed myself to noodle around making knives, I've found it very zen, and you know, moments of extreme frustration. But you know, that's taking on anything difficult is going to be replete with that. So yeah, I would love to make knives.
You hear that, Ganzo? He's looking for someone to OEM his knives.
I wasn't quite thinking. No, I'm just kidding.
Now I know you said you were doing art. That painting behind there, did you paint that one?
No, that's my grandfather painted that in the 20s or 30s, and we always used to joke that it was my grandmother. And it absolutely was not me. She did that before he met me. So yeah, that's a beautiful painting by my grandfather.
Ass.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
So that used to be behind the bar in their basement. So we would creep down there and get a look at it. I think it informed my tastes, you know, from a very early age.
Love it. I had to throw that in there.
I love how pissed off your grandmother was, and bitchy at him about it. It was most certainly not me.
Yeah. Why did you have to hang that up?
Yeah. Like, it's like some things are timeless. Like your wife bitching at you about former women.
Yeah.
It never ends. It started from the dawn of time, and it will never cease.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's a constant. It's actually comforting.
It's just constant as gravity, man. It's gonna happen. It's inspiring.
So Bob, what's your favorite handle material?
Micarta. I love micarta, and then if we're gonna go into the stratosphere, I love like what do you call it? Like mammoth ivory and that kind of glowing ivory.
That's cool.
With cracks. Oh my god, that's beautiful. But for everyday, yeah, I love micarta. Specifically canvas, but I also like linen and paper.
All right. And what's your favorite blade material?
Steel. I definitely like
Metal.
I have to be honest. I know that I like M390 because some of my best knives have it on. But what I've really been digging lately is 154 cm because I can get it wicked sharp, and for my use, which is very light, it does the trick. And you can get a nice shiny. Yeah, you like it? It's 154 cm.
We've talked about this in the podcast before. We are fans of 154 cm.
Good. I'm glad I don't look like a noob.
No. Like we agree 100%.
Cool. Yeah. What did I just recently get that has it? The Hogue. The Hogue has it. Yep. The Hogue EX01.
How about those Hogue factory edges?
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice. I mean, like, and a pretty shallow too. I like that.
Yeah. I spoke to Jim Brower for like an hour at Blade Show. I walked up to the booth and there was some dude standing there, and I was like, I didn't say a word. I just walked up. I was like, why are your factory edges so much better than everybody else's? And they were like, actually, this is the guy you should probably talk to. And this guy walks up. He's like, how can I help you? I was like, why are your factory edges so much better than everybody else's? And everyone else's suck. And he's like, can I get you to say that on camera? I'm like, yeah, but answer the question. And then 20 minutes later, he's like, oh, hi, I'm Jim Brower. I'm one of the owners of Hogue Knives, blah, blah, blah. And I actually met, while I was talking to him, the man who is the representative of the company that sells the grinding wheels and abrasives that they use. Wow. Happened to walk. I have his card, actually. Happened to walk up, so I got to get an in-depth conversation about the time and all the energy and that they take to doing that and why they do that on a knife. So I thought that was badass. Big shout out to Hogue.
Yeah, man, they're just killing it, and they've only been doing it for, well, I don't know, 10 years now. 10 years. Not that long.
Yeah.
No, and they kill it. They make great knives.
Yeah, they do.
I got the X5 and I love it.
So speaking of killing it, you're killing it on the podcast. I think you have some of the most highest profile people, very interesting interviews, and they keep getting better and better.
Thank you.
What's in the future for your podcast? Like, where do you see yourself going?
For the moment, I'm just sticking to. There are so many other people I want to talk to. I feel like I've created an opportunity for myself that I wasn't really expecting, because these people are very infinitely interesting to me, and there are a lot of people I've sent invites to that just haven't responded, and it's either for whatever reason. Maybe I got the wrong email, maybe they're not interested, or maybe they just missed it like I do. Man, I miss emails and DMs and all that stuff all the time, so I get it. But for now, it's like I just have a long list of people I still want to talk to. So that's kind of how
I'm going. That's for sure.
That's kind of how I'm keeping it. Well, thank you.
Well, Bob, now that you've been on this podcast, don't expect anyone else to hit you up to come on your podcast. We basically just knocked you down.
Actually, Steve, before we started rolling and before you joined us, I was saying that like this podcast, Sharp Talk, is cool because you've got different personalities and different expertises that and it's not just the expertise, but it's the personalities. And to me, that's like the interesting thing. And if you happened upon this podcast and didn't know much about knives, you could still hang in and listen because it's entertaining and fun to listen to. Whereas it is easy to get in the weeds with technical stuff or whatever. But yeah, I understand the self-deprecation, but Sharp Talk is a pretty awesome podcast, and I think it's because of the personalities and the varied expertise.
We appreciate that.
You hear that, Tom? You hear that, Tom? Start inviting me and quit blocking me, okay? I'm part of the team. I'm part of the team, damn it. I'm part of the team.
Steve, I'm going to make a clip art picture of your face and put it on a t-shirt that says, I'm part of the team, damn it.
So, I can't forget your co-host. I like Jim a lot too. Jim is a cool dude. So, has Jim gotten into collecting more than one pocket knife?
No, not yet. But I'm just giving. So for his birthday, I got him. He liked a little story I told on one of the podcasts about the K-bar, and so for his birthday, I got him a K-bar. So now he has a Swiss Army knife, a buck canoe, and a K-bar fighting knife. So
I know he loves that buck canoe, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he does. I think so. Jim and I work together in our day jobs, and actually, I'm his producer for a bunch of podcasts he does. He's got a great radio voice,
right?
And so he had been for years kind of saying, "Well, I'm interested in all this online platform cross penetration stuff, but I don't really have the hobby. You've got the hobby and the content. Let's do a podcast." And I, for a long time, was kind of like, what am I going to talk about, after, 10 podcasts or whatever. And then we started doing it, and, he's great. He does all of the technical stuff, all of the producing. And, honestly, I'm not the most consistent person in anything, but knowing that I'm on the hook with him, I don't want to disappoint him in a way, and so he's definitely kept me honest.
I'm a fan of his too, man. Let him know.
Yeah, I will indeed. And
one of the first DMs I ever messaged you was about him. I'm like, when's he gonna get a damn different knife than a buck canoe? Okay. And you're like, his birthday's coming up.
Yeah.
Split it with you, man. Let's do it.
That's right. So I'm going to have to get him, because obviously he doesn't carry the K-bar around. But I'm going to have to get him, I thought maybe the bug out would be a good way to bridge the gap. Maybe I'll get him a bug out.
That's a cool knife.
Yeah,
no. Get him the gold class Crooked River.
Anything
great segue into higher end knives.
Anything less would just be an insult.
Yeah, these guys like one of your friends, man. Bug out? Come on.
What's $1,500 on a Benchmade between friends?
Between friends, man. Come on,
all right. So there's something that's been standing out about your podcast a lot for me, because I've been on the same mission as you. And when you were talking to Epic Snuggle Bunny, you were talking about reducing and refining. Yes. And it's funny, my podcast brothers here can vouch that I've been on the same mission now since the beginning of the year, where I've been selling off almost everything I have to start getting some crazy higher end stuff.
Yeah.
How's your mission going, man?
My mission is not going as well as yours. I've actually been watching.
Alex is not going well either. Don't let him fool you. He sells 4 knives and buys 3. It's not going very well.
I've noticed an uptick in just utterly sweet knives on your channel in the last, I don't know, I guess I've been following you for about 4 or 5 months or so, like regularly. And massive uptick. So I think you told me in a DM recently that you sold off some 40 knives recently. Yeah. I sold my mass drop thresher and my native cheap. That's the only thing I've sold recently. I'm like, wow, I'm making headway. I'm breaking through. But in reality, I'm on the hook now for a more expensive knife than I'm used to spending on a custom knife from one of the guests, and I'm going to keep that under my hat for now. But so I have to sell more knives now. So
it's reducing, right?
Yes, it is, and it's not just the knives. Really, reduce and refine is you can really spread that across your whole life. And
right.
conceptually. I'm doing horribly with that too, but I mean, you know, I would like to get it down in terms of number and really have, you know, well, I don't know what the number is, but just fewer and better.
I don't know what the damn number is either, man.
There isn't a number. It just keeps moving.
Yeah, but that's.
I love selling knives. It feels so good to get rid of one. Like, go away. Be gone with you. I want to get something way cooler.
I think I know what you mean too, because then, you know, like I'm like, geez, you know, as much as I fretted over selling my ZT 0800, or I think that's what it was called, the Rexford knife, like I there's not once where I've gone to the knife cabinet and been like, oh, where's my, I sold it. It's just like,
I can't carry it. No.
That's
the like, I'm going to carry this sweet whatever this is today instead of that knife.
Yeah, that is the amazing thing. That never happens. That never happens to anybody where you're like, oh crap, I sold it. You know, like, where did it go? Like, because I had the same anxiety. Because originally, I don't care what the price level of a knife is. I like unique. My first thing that I was really stuck on was unique lock mechanisms. And like the way, you know, knives work. Like anything that was really unusual, I would buy it. I don't care if it was a CRKT or if it was like, you know, like a custom whatever. And so I had a lot of knives that I had to part with, which it was a bittersweet, you know. And I'm like, what am I getting, $50 for this thing? Like, I might as well keep it. But I'm like, no.
Yeah, I might as well keep it.
Push it out. I don't have room, you know, and so I really know what you're talking about when it comes to that.
And another problem is, you know, converse to never going to your knife cabinet and saying, where's the ZT 0800, is I will, when I'm away from the collection, think of all the knives I could sell. Oh, I could totally part with that. And then I go and I get it in hand and I'm like, but maybe, you know, maybe I need to keep this one. It feels so good in hand and it's so cool. But,
right.
You know.
You guys are like true fucking like collectors. You got real issues. Look at you guys. I'm jealous.
We got real issues.
I had my favorite traditional that I've ever had. It was a GEC. It was a 15. It's a boy's knife.
Yeah.
I've loved it. I've loved that knife since I got it. I've carried it like a ton. I actually just polished up the blade and got the patina off of it. I had a buddy come over who knows nothing about knives. And he's looking at some of the knives I have, and he's carrying like this old piece of shit charade with like wood handle. And he's like, man, this one's really cool. And I'm like, here, keep this one. Here you go. And I just hand him my favorite one. I'm like, this is yours now. Like I have no soul apparently.
No. You're like a Buddhist. You've let go of desire.
Yeah.
I have no soul. I have no heart. I have no soul. I'm going to hell.
You know, talking about this, it reminds me of my best friend who now lives in Atlanta. And my buddy Matt, I bought him about 3.5 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago. I bought him a Kershaw junkyard dog. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, sure do.
And then he messaged me the other day just checking up on me and my family and how you doing, buddy, and all that. And then I guess he started watching my channel too. I had no idea he even knew I had a channel. Because he's not like all super into knives, but he works on a movie set all the time doing props. So he's always got this knife that I bought him, and he sends me the picture. I'm like, holy crap, you still have this thing? He's like, I'm never selling it. I'm like, man, that's so cool. You know, like it made me so happy to see that he still had this thing. It was freaking wild.
Well, not only that, but that junkyard dog that's worth money now, I think. I mean, that was yeah.
I told him, like, you know, that thing's worth some money now. He's like, I don't care. I'm never selling it.
Yeah.
He don't give a shit.
Oh, he knows that. So, yeah. All right.
All right. Hold on, Alex. I got to break in here. I got to cut out. I got to get up for work in 5.5 hours.
Oof.
I love you, man. Well, it was a pleasure.
It was nice meeting you, Bob. It was awesome having you on.
Thank you so much.
You guys. You're welcome, and thanks for coming on, and I'll see you guys next time we do the podcast.
See you later, G.
All right,
Nice
to meet you.
You'll see us when Tom's girlfriend lets us have a new one.
That's fair. I gotta ask permission for the next episode.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna wrap this thing up with in the Knife Junkie podcast style. So Bob, I need a funny knife story from you.
Oh God. The most recent one.
So I was
Most
killing this
recent
guy.
one. So my knife stories are rarely funny. They just end with bloodshed. And I was recently going, kind of doing what I do sometimes when no one's watching, and just kind of going through my knife cabinet. I keep everything in a Craftsman case, with drawers and all that, like a toolbox. And I was worrying over my Emersons. These just aren't smooth enough. What's going on? Just being a nerd. And do you know what the P-Sark is? It's a hawk build. It looks like a regular handled karambit, basically. Yeah. And I was opening that, and I'm like, this should be smoother. I don't know what's going on. And then I got lost in reverie, and it fell out of my hand, and it embedded itself in the side of my calf. And the reason, and it stayed there, and it wasn't fully open either. So it had the weight of the handle. It was bent, and had the weight of the handle pulling and pushing the blade into my leg.
Oh my God!
And so I pulled it out and tried to very casually stagger through the house to get to the, and of course my wife saw, what'd you do now? I dropped this in, and she's like, let me take care of it. I'm like, it's fine, it's wrapped up. And then just today or yesterday, she saw the scar, and she's like, oh, you should have let me take care of it. It would have been so much better. I'm like, what? You would have had to give me stitches. And she said, it would have been better if I took care of it. And she was right. Because it's on the side of my leg in a weird place. I can't. So might not be funny, but it's a bloody story. And all of my knife stories are bloody. And it usually comes from showing off. But this time I was alone.
Very nice. Well, yeah.
I love when knives stab people. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
It's what they're for, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
All right, speed round, Bob.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
All right, fixed or folder?
Folder.
Flipper or thumb stud?
Thumb stud.
Washer or bearings?
Washer.
Tip up or tip down?
Tip up.
Tonto or Bowie?
Bowie.
Hollow ground or flat ground?
Hollow ground.
Finger choil or no finger choil?
No finger choil, as long as the blade comes all the way up to the base.
Yes. Full size or small?
Full size.
Gentleman or tactical?
Tactical.
All right.
That was an easy one.
Auto or Balisson?
Auto.
Spyderco or Benchmade?
Spyderco.
Emerson or Cold Steel?
Emerson.
Milled clip or spring clip?
Spring clip.
Carbon fiber or micarta?
Micarta.
All right. Form or function?
Form. I know it's totally unpopular, but if it's ugly, I'm not buying it.
You know what? Bless your heart, because I would have said form too.
No one wants to admit it, but
yes. I think they're actually on equal planes for me. So
yeah.
Good for you, man. Last one, desert island knife. If you could have one knife, because I'm sure our podcast people don't know, if you could have one knife on a desert island for the rest of your life, what would it be?
It would be.
Thompson keeps in his butt crack.
I'm gonna. Okay, so this could change depending on the day, but right now, if it's an actual desert island and I need a knife, I'm gonna say the Tops Prather War Bowie.
Wow.
That's what I'm gonna go with, because it's stout. It's got a great point, but so you could burrow into coconuts and make a hole and drink it out of there. But you could also chop. You could also mess something up with it if you needed to, and you could also, if you have a Torx wrench with you, take the handles off and make it into a spear and do all that stuff. So I guess I'd say that the Prather War Bowie.
Nice, good choice.
Bowie.
Right.
By the way, I don't know whether to say Bowie or Bowie, so it always comes out Bowie. I always change my mind half syllable.
It doesn't matter how you say it. Someone will correct you in the comments, I'm sure. No worries.
Exactly.
Precisely.
We'll tell you what you don't know.
this late in the century, I don't think it matters anymore.
Bowie, Bowie, doesn't matter. David Bowie, doesn't make a difference.
I'm gonna call it. You know what I mean.
Yeah, heard.
You know exactly what I mean. It's a Bowie.
Clip point.
I mean,
there it is.
his name isn't David Bowie. It's David Bowie, right? So
Thank
I mean,
Thank you.
I mean, it's a fucking name, right? So
You said he named himself David Bowie because it's a knife that cuts both ways. And I
Yeah.
thought that
Oh
was
yeah.
really cool. With all these unsharpened swedges these days, no one knows it's supposed to cut both ways.
facts right there. Hashtag facts.
Is that all we got, Alex?
That's what I got.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. I know this is probably your longest podcast ever, Bob. That's kind of our thing.
I love it. I loved it. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
It's kind of our thing is taking guests until way past their bedtime on a Sunday evening.
I'm all good, man.
Especially G. He always leaves right towards the end, about 45 minutes before we end.
Yeah, it's really about taking Tom past his bedtime
That's
more
true.
so than the guests.
That's
but-
true.
Well,
I'm going to get really whiny here soon.
You know G's about to leave too when his pug starts snoring.
Yeah, yeah.
Pug snoring.
The phone starts snoring, you know it's gonna happen.
That was just him farting.
Dude, I was hearing something. I was like,
That's what that was. His
That's just-
pug sits at his side and starts snoring, and then he starts getting woozy, and then they both go to bed.
It's a wrap. That's it.
And then if you see G's post on Facebook, he ends up taking a picture at like 4:00 in the morning when he's on his way to work.
Yep.
He looks like, and it's usually got his knife blade out like this, and you see like a Spyderco hole in front of his house, and it looks like he's about to break into somebody's house.
You gotta love it, though.
I do to them.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
Exactly.
So, but man, it was a pleasure having you guys. If you guys haven't listened to the Knife Junkie podcast, you guys are missing out. If you listen to our wreck of a podcast, you'll really be impressed with Bob. He's a class act. He's got the best lineup for guests, and his podcast editing is phenomenal. Please go and check his.
Way better than Tom's.
Yeah, that's true.
And where can they find you, Bob?
We're at the knifejunkie.com/podcast. We're on YouTube. We recently had an RSS feed interruption, and so YouTube was the one place, but now it's all back. So on all the podcast apps, iTunes, Stitcher is where I listen.
Spotify. That's where I listen.
Oh, okay, cool. We're on Spotify apparently.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's where you check it out. It's thanks so much, Alex, for inviting me on, and guys, it's been a pleasure talking and meeting with you all.
Thanks for coming on, Bob. Yeah,
You
for real,
too.
thank you.
I gotta say to really have some. This is a communist term, and I'm not a communist, but to have some fellow travelers who you can really geek the hell out with on it's priceless. So thank you.
Definitely.
You can always come back on anytime, Bob. We'd love to have you anytime, man. You can always come in.
Great.
So, but thanks again for coming with us, and we had a good time. I think we had a good episode, a little bit more arranged than usual. Usually it's a cluster, but today I try to write some notes and be ready for what we're doing. So,
Everyone's thanking my girlfriend in the Twitch chat for the episode today.
Yes.
What did he say?
I said everyone's thanking my girlfriend in the Twitch chat for the episode today.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for what you guys started.
Yeah.
It only
You're
took
welcome.
about 4 episodes, but look what we got now.
And we can't end any episode without the squish, squish, squish.
So
Yeah,
so
squish, squish, squish.
let's talk about that real quick. That is now a T-shirt. So that's
Yes,
up on the
yes.
website. The squish
Shout out
squish.
So
Yeah,
squish, 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 which is Tom, is now on a T-shirt.
Yes.
Squish, squish.
So that's now up on a T-shirt. So you guys go to our spread shop. The link to that is in the bio of our Instagram. So if you guys are interested in buying a shirt that says Squish Squish, you can go do it there.
That's gonna be our biggest hit.
There's probably a discount code somewhere up there at the very top of the screen. They're almost always running some sort of a discount.
That is going to be our biggest hit for sure.
I think so. Between that and the HRC police,
Yes.
so that's the other good one.
RC police.
HRC police.
That's awesome.
I'm captain and sheriff. If you weren't aware.
Yes, that's one of that's our best selling shirt at the moment. So anyhow,
That's what I do.
like
HRC
Alex said, definitely go check Bob and his podcast, The Knife Junkie, out on all the platforms, whatever you guys listen to it on. Obviously, our episode will be up here relatively soon on YouTube, shortly after it comes out on everything else. We did try a different software this time. We normally do it on Skype, but this time was on Google Hangouts. So please let us know if the quality was any better, because I know we were getting some complaints about Skype cutting other people off if two people were trying to talk at one time, which is super annoying. So please let me know if that kind of fixed itself during this episode. I think everything sounded great from our end. So that's pretty much all I got. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you everyone on Twitch for tuning in live. It's been awesome interacting with you all as always, and we will see you 2 weeks from now.
Thank you, guys.
See you later, Bob.
See ya.
Bob.
Thanks, Bob. I'll talk to you later, okay?
All right, man. Take care.
All right, you got it, buddy.